lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Jeremy Lee in the building and every guest that you ever needed. Sports cards after hours keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live and none could ever beat it. Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to a special episode of Sports Cards Live, episode number 321. It is Saturday night, July the 18th, 2026. My name is Jeremy Lee. This is a special episode of Sports Cards Live as we are streaming also to the For Collectors YouTube channel for HobbyPalooza 2026. 3 straight days of hobby content coming at you yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We are closing off the day here on Sports Cards Live for Collectors, HobbyPalooza. Let's get to it. This is in support of Signatures for Soldiers. You can donate. There is information on the ticker below. And we have a special video, but we're going to wait. We're going to let more people pour in here first. And while we do that, I just want to, as I do, I want to shout out a bunch of the supporters of Sports Cards Live: Leighton Sheldon and Just Collect, Auction Wire, Minting, Front Row Card Show. We've got Mr. Minty, CIA Auctions, Slab Sharks, Upper Deck, Sports Card Expo, Inferno Red Technologies, ComC, and Card Ladder. And I also want to shout out my buddy David Chase, who I know was much involved in the chat in the last show, The Odd Couple. Thank you to Mike Petty and Tony, Southern Collector, for leading into this and shouting us out. Good friends of ours here. They're part of the Sports Cards Live crew and family, and thank you to those guys. David Chase, let's bring you out. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Jeremy?
Oh, what do you think?
Wow, look at me coming in so early. You're ready to rock. Let's do this.
Let's do this. So we got a bunch of people in here already coming through on both the For Collectors channel and the Sports Cards Live channel. Want to welcome everybody to the show. We got a fun show tonight, as we do every Saturday night here, David Chase. And well, let's play this special video, guys. This is the video that is being played at the beginning of all of the HobbyPalooza episodes. This was supplied to us by the team over at For Collectors. So I'm going to play that for everybody. And this is all about the charitable endeavors that HobbyPalooza is really trying to support. And this is the 7th year of HobbyPalooza. And I think Sports Cards Live, or I think this is either the 6th or 7th year we've been on. I'm not even sure if it's 6 or 7, but it feels like it's right back to the beginning. In any event, want to thank For Collectors, want to thank HobbyPalooza for giving us the Saturday night slot, closing things out. And here is the special video.
Hello and welcome. Chris from Missouri here. And I am proud to be this year's HobbyPalooza 7 ambassador. HobbyPalooza is all about raising money for Signatures for Soldiers. Signatures for Soldiers is a nonprofit organization helping veterans with money raised by selling sport card autographs. We are accepting donations all weekend long. For every $10 donated, you earn 1 raffle entry for a chance to win some amazing prizes. The preferred method to donate is Zelle, if it is available through your banking app. If you don't have Zelle, PayPal goods and services can be used. The email for either method is signaturesforsoldiers@yahoo.com. For either method, in the notes field, please put HP7. Additionally, for identification purposes, provide your YouTube account handle or your name for the big prize wheel. Last year, we raised almost $9,000. We knocked on that $10,000 door. This year, let's kick it down. Enjoy the show and have some fun.
That's our good buddy Chris from Missouri as the ambassador for HobbyPalooza, 7th year in a row. I think this is the 2nd year there's been an ambassador. If there was somebody as the ambassador 2 years ago, I apologize, I forget. But last year was Orlando, did a great job as the ambassador for the cause. And Chris from Missouri, I think that's a couple of winning ambassadors back to back right there. Hey, Dave.
Right? Like, I don't know who they could pick as 3rd year, because those two are just you can't beat both. I was like, who are they going to choose next year after Orlando? And then Chris from Missouri. Who doesn't love Chris from Missouri? So 2 of the best.
Absolutely. There's lots going on right now, David. I mean, listen, the talk about the Wagner, the Love of the Game card, the FrankenWagner, it's everywhere. And we're going to talk about it some more tonight because I got more to say about it. And of course, we have Al Crusafilli from Love of the Game. He is the owner of that auction company who is selling that card. It's been on display all weekend at Fanatics Fest at the CGC booth. And Al has been there, and he's there right now, or at least he was there. He is going to be joining us later tonight here on the show to get his thoughts on the card, the history of the card, and what he thinks this card actually is, because there's lots of different ways to look at this card. And I don't think we have consensus in the hobby. Well, we never, ever have consensus in the hobby on anything. So why would we on this controversial item? But I think a lot of people are looking at it in different ways. And what does it mean? And all these different sort of conversations going on. But before we talk about that, I was listening to The Odd Couple just before. I sent you a text, David, laughing. Mike Petty is, you know what? He should be the ambassador next year. I'm not trying to tell Ford collectors what to do.
That's actually a great one. You're right.
Mike Petty. I would like to formally nominate Mike Petty as the ambassador, which would change the whole HobbyPalooza, the feel of it, because, the F-bombs would have to be a part of that. And I think that would be a great thing to see. But it was so funny. I don't think he follows soccer very closely, because I got a great laugh when he referred to Melanin Jamal. Melanin Jamal, he called them. That was my favorite part of The Odd Couple just now. Did you happen to hear that?
For some reason, I missed that. I got your text telling me that. I was like, what are you talking about? And then you ended up explaining it, because I probably couldn't hear over my laughing, because I just laughed the entire episode with those two. I mean, they are so great. And I second that Petty should be the ambassador for year 3. I'm putting that out there too. I love it.
We have a first, we have a second. We just needed to hit the official records, the official meeting records of Ford collectors. We'll see what everybody thinks. Couple of administrative items I want to get out of the way. First of all, I will be back tomorrow on the Sports Cards Live YouTube channel, not the Ford collectors tomorrow night, but for the Fanatics Weekly Auction Ending Watch Party, also streaming live to Fanatics Collect Originals. And also the main stage production that I am co-producing at the National on Saturday at 3:00 is called Enter the Inferno. We had 18 submissions of candidates who wanted to pitch their hobby tech idea. And we've now concluded interviews and narrowed it down to 4 contestants. So that's very exciting. There will be some promotion on that coming out soon from the production team as well as the National. And I want to shout out our Hangover episode 9 came out that was just you and me too. I think the first time in a few weeks that we didn't have Joe.
Joe was with us.
Sorry, he came late though, right? Did he come late or did you come late?
No, that was 2 weeks ago. This is the episode that you ignored me for the first 7 minutes of the episode, remember? And I had to remind you that I was on the show with you.
I'm going to just mute David Chase. So David Chase is now muted, everybody, and we can have 7 more minutes without David Chase if we want it. Okay, you're off mute, buddy. You're off mute. But check out the Hangover exclusive content on the Sports Card Clubhouse YouTube channel. And then also I had the privilege of being invited onto Victor, the rookie card specialist channel this past week. And we had a great conversation about rookie cards, and it's fun. His thumbnail was great because it was basically us in a boxing ring. And we did have a bit of a debate, but a very friendly debate. I think Victor and I have a mutual respect for each other. And that's a nice thing about this hobby. We can disagree on things, but still enjoy each other's company and have that mutual respect. It's when that respect lacks that, you'll get the wrath of me sometimes, but otherwise, the community is so awesome, and Victor's a great guy, and he's doing a great job preserving the history of the hobby over there, and also sticking up for the rookie card, which has in recent years gone through some changes, I guess you could say, and some debate for sure. So happy to do that's on Victor's channel, True RCs, right now. But David, let's talk about what's going on right now. West Coast Card Show, Dallas Card Show, which I haven't heard anything about yet, and Fanatics Fest, of course. Well, let's start closer to home with you, because you've been spending this weekend at the West Coast Card Show. knowing full well that it's a tough weekend for a big card show because there's so much competition for people who travel to card shows. So what's your report? I basically want to hear, how is the West Coast Card Show this weekend? How do you think it's been impacted by Fanatics Fest in Dallas all happening at the same time? Never mind the National 2 weeks from now as well. How's it been over there this weekend so far from your perspective?
So I've been there all 3 days so far, and I'm going tomorrow with my son. And, I have fun whenever I go to a card show, especially the big one like this, right? West Coast Card Show is a big one. But it does, I think that they are hurting a little bit from what's going on. It's just a very weird timing. It's not just those other 2 card shows that are happening. We're also right before the National, which last year was after the National. PSA, which everyone was able to do on-site grading, and people would come for that. They're not doing on-site grading at West Coast Card Show. You can still drop off your cards, but you're getting them sent back 3 years later. And, so there's it's a kind of perfect storm of things that are making it a little more difficult. The room was a little smaller. There was I would say 20% that was filled last year that did not have tables. And I spoke to a lot of dealers, and they said that it was a little slower than what was expected from them. I mean, there were still people there. I think that today, Saturday, was obviously the busiest day, but in Ontario 6 months ago, Friday was the busiest day. So it was just kind of a little bit of a surprise to them. But everyone's still having a good time and everything. I'm not a dealer, so it doesn't hurt me as badly, but I'm loving it. And I'm going again tomorrow and still looking forward to that because I just have a sports cards fever, that I need to go every day.
I get it. Yeah. Did you get into any sort of detailed conversations with any vendors about their thoughts on the show this weekend, considering what else is going on? How are they feeling about this weekend's version of the West Coast Card Show?
Yeah, and my friends are these dealers that I see in Southern California, and I talk to them all the time about these kind of things. There's a rumor going around that possibly West Coast Card Show might have somebody that might be buying them. Could be a huge company, could be the biggest company. I don't know. There's kind of rumors flying around. Could it be a Fanatics kind of company that's buying West Coast Card Show? Who knows? I don't know if that's true. It is totally a rumor. I have no real information on that, but I've heard it from more than one dealer speculating about that. One of the things that's making it a little difficult on West Coast Card Show, I think, is Front Row Card Show, which is a well-oiled machine. I mean, they know what they are doing, and it is going everywhere, and it is just so polished. And they do things that are unlike things that are going on West Coast Card Show, which I heard some dealers who do both shows were getting frustrated at, such as, on Thursday, that's this opening night, I'd say 20% of the dealers were not set up. They were just empty tables. And Front Row, you cannot set up after people come in, and you cannot leave until the show ends. I'm positive that there's going to be a lot of people that leave early on West Coast Card Show, especially if they're not performing as well as they were expecting. The lines were actually really good at West Coast Card Show. That's been a problem in the past where you had to wait an hour and a half outside to get your wristbands. They did a really good job with that this year for this episode. But a little bit of empty tables, not crazy amounts of volume. And there was a lot of dealers that they're selling a lot to other dealers more than even collectors for a lot of their sales, probably getting ready for the National. So it's kind of like this pre-National show where, Ash is going crazy, going around. I bet you the vultures will be circling tomorrow, Sunday, is my guess.
I was going to ask, did you find there today, yesterday, that some of the vendors are willing to give a better deal, or maybe not yesterday and Thursday, but maybe today, Saturday, you were there. If they did not have a great Thursday, Friday because of because of the level of traffic, are some of these vendors willing to come down in prices in order to make something of the show? Is it at that point, or are they is the sort of the feel you're getting that they would rather just hold off and keep their inventory for a future version of the show, or even for the National?
I think it's a very tough time in the hobby to be getting deals at this moment right now. I had this conversation with somebody where they are like, think about this. I think over the next 45 days, with these three shows, the national, some big auctions closing that are coming up, these next 45 days might have the most cash paid for sports cards in the history of the hobby. So you're not getting crazy deals. If you are getting crazy deals, it's because a dealer probably either made a mistake or they're very new to the hobby. I mean, man, eye appeal. It's the prices of eye appeal is unbelievable right now, and I'm sure that's going to be leading into the national. But because I think, it used to be back in the day where one of these shows would happen, and then they'd have to wait 6 months to have another huge show. But now that West Coast front row is going to be in LA 3 times a year, San Diego, which is an hour and a half away from that, 3 times a year, Arizona, which is 4 hours away from that, 3 times a year, right? Now they can just travel around and do that. They don't need to sell their inventory to be able to do the show. So I think that they're just not willing to give as many deals at this point.
I want to, you talked about these rumors going around that maybe a big company might be looking to buy the West Coast Card Show. You said you heard that today, or you heard that over this weekend from a couple of dealers, and you heard that was Fanatics, I think is what you just mentioned. I mean, like, if you heard that from a couple of different vendors, it makes you think there could be some it makes you think there could be some truth to it. However, the same falsity could be making its way through the room as well. Did anybody tell you where they heard this? How credible the source is? Do you have any information on that? Because if Fanatics is looking to buy the West Coast Card Show, I mean, it would somewhat make sense that with Fanatics Fest going on in New York, the other logical location would be Los Angeles. So, right, both coasts, it kind of makes sense. What are your thoughts on the validity of these claims that you heard today? I know I'm asking you to speculate, but
I'm completely speculating. I have no real answer to this, but the people that told me are bigger dealers, and these dealers I feel like would know more than just the average local person. But again, they didn't say that it was a for sure thing. They said it's the rumblings, and it was just interest. One person saying that to me, I was like, oh yeah, that would be crazy. But then when a second person said it to me, I was like, oh, that's even more interesting. Now, maybe they told each other. I have no idea, but I did hear it from more than one source.
You also mentioned how eye appeal is getting expensive, and I guess a lot of people talking about it in the room. Any thoughts, Dave? And I saw the guys talking about it on Odd Couple just earlier. They were talking, I saw they were talking about the 33 Worldwide Gum Babe Ruth that just sold for $72,000 in a PSA 2. Any thoughts, David, or talk about that particular card? Like, is that card becoming a bit of a poster child for the eye appeal movement now?
I brought up that card to a few different people. Yes, it's coming up for eye appeal. And I think that, listen, I mean, we've seen it on epic cards, right? We saw it with my 48 leaf Jackie that I lost, that Petty and Tony twisted the knife on me. We saw it on, you see it on 52 mantles. You see it on other 48 leaf Jackies that have like a gold sticker and stuff like that. Like, the eye appeal on iconic cards that look amazing, it's going to be more than the 20% over highest comps. It's just, because it is that hard to find an amazing copy of that specific card. Now, how high should the price be? I mean, it takes more than one person a lot of times to find that, at least on an auction, unless it's buy it now. But there's a lot of people that are looking for lower grade, high eye appeal copies. There's a lot of other parts to that card, though, that I think aren't being discussed as much, which I think is like the hidden side of this, which is, and by the way, I spoke to Jeremy about this. I spoke to Greg about this. I've in my mind over the last few years, I've really been thinking about Worldwide Gum. And I have had this conversation with like just mutual friends of mine, and it's been in my head for years that I feel like that I'm really stupid that I have not really gone in deeper into Worldwide Gum. And every time I talked about this over the last few years with people about Worldwide Gum, which by the way, For those that don't know, it's the same as the 33 Gaudi card, but it was made in Canada, and it has about 1/10 the population. And the only real difference is, and I think it has a different number, but it definitely says made in Canada on the back. And it has a very low population compared to the Gaudi. It's about 10%. So, I mean, every time I tell somebody, like, I don't know what's going on with this worldwide gum. Like, why is it worth more, especially with O-Pee-Chees and Tiffany's being so expensive compared to the Topps brand? And everyone always says, because it's not Gaudi. It's not Gaudi, right? Gaudi's the king. And that's their only excuse, which has always been a terrible excuse. And I've always known that. And I've slowly been seeing that worldwide gum go from like 50% of that cost to 60 to 75. And now this one, I mean, it's like 4 times more than the ever Gaudi version. Is it the revolution of worldwide gum? Who knows? But I think it's kind of a perfect storm of eye appeal and that worldwide gum knowledge kind of maybe trickling up. You know?
It really only takes a couple of people to want the card, and it really only takes a couple of those people to put in a mega type bid. And then, you know, it's the same thing as the FrankenWagner coming up on Love of the Game, which that card, for anybody who isn't aware, that card will sell on August the 8th. So it's not until the weekend after National that card ends. So we still have, you know, 20 days or so to talk about it, and you know, ad nauseum, I'm sure, to some people's annoyance, but you know, there's still time for that card to be talked about. It was on display at Fanatics Fest. Have you watched? David, you've been busy at the show, but have you been able to watch any content coming out of Fanatics Fest?
I've watched a few. I watched Tom Brady punch Logan Paul.
Yeah.
So I saw some wrestling moves. I saw Messi on stage, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, but when I'm talking about content coming out, I mean talking about how the card show portion is. And I saw a bunch of the other stuff too. It is definitely, you know, Fanatics Fest is not a card show. It is a sports spectacular event, and the card show is a part of it. And but from what I'm seeing and hearing, people are very impressed with this, with the event as a whole, the card part, the rest of it. Yeah, you're not getting dollar bins there. That's probably more what the National is for, but you are getting a much different experience than a card show. And there's lots of YouTube videos out this week about, you know, the National versus the Fanatics Fest, and it's Fanatics Fest killing the National and all these things. And it feels like this is the third year in a row that those thumbnails are coming out. But and listen, I think a lot of the people that are putting that on, and hey, I would put that on the thumbnail too. It's great to get people engaged and watching and talking in the chats and all that. I think once you get into those videos, though, you're not necessarily hearing that same sort of narrative. It can often really just be like, Fanatics Fest is a great event. The National is a great event. And I know people are complaining and people have their bones to pick. They didn't get their media passes, or the air conditioning went out a couple of years ago. Hotels are all these different things that are, you know, some people aren't going. They're protesting and this and that. It's like, it's a card show, guys. It's a card show. And if you didn't get your press pass, hey, I got mine. So I wish they would have got, I wish they would have got theirs too. I sincerely do. But I'm just saying, like, if I didn't, I'm going to buy my pass and go anyway. So it's a card show.
I bought my pass.
It's a card show. Like, so listen, it's, I can't wait. It's going to be a great time. I'm sure I'm going to take some heat for that comment there. David, we're going to have Josh Adams is going to join us shortly, and then Al is going to join us a little bit after that. But let's go through. I want to say hello to the people in the chat. We got almost 170 people with us right now, so welcome everybody. Oh, we got people on. If you're watching on Instagram, come on over to YouTube, Sports Cards Live, or For Collectors tonight, and join us there on Instagram. I'm seeing Jeff says Topps and all the celebrities connection is a game changer for Fanatics. Yeah, like, you know, as much as Ruben talked about 10xing the hobby, he is well on his way, on, you know, along with all of his teams at Fanatics and Topps. And if anyone can 10x the hobby, it is them. Nobody else could do it. They can do it. So Are they going to? We'll see. Have they already? I don't know. Maybe they're what X are they at? I don't know. But we got On Card Sports. What's up, On Card Sports? Outlaws, Bill Betts, Kevin Hawthorne, the Professor. We got Mick Cornett. It's so quiet. That must have been before we even started. What's up, Stukes? Good evening from the home of the first WNBA team to win 20 games this season. Congratulations, ACD. Jeff Will says, anyone still believe Fanatics won't 10x the hobby? I think you've already lost. At this point, there's no way that they don't. Now, people will say 10x what? 10x the amount of collectors, 10x the revenue. I don't know, guys. Pick one. They're going to 10x all of them. E105, good evening. Orlando is here. Laura is here. There's the ambassador, Chris from Missouri. Michael Ham, good to see you, buddy. Carl from Oz, you're still awake. Good to know. Coach Neil, Turpin, Forcer, Confluence says, after that odd couple, I don't know if I'll survive this show. Listen, I got to give anybody who sat through the odd couple leading up to Sports Cards Live tonight, if you can't stick it out for this show with me and David and the rest of our guests, go. You don't need to. It's okay, guys. It's okay. I know that was a lot to take in with Petty and Tony.
Amazing.
Rob Star, what's going on, buddy? Sammy Hill, good to see you. Always Jay Hawker, Rip Fan. Hello to all my friends. Mookie Chilson, what's up, Mook? Good to see you. Curmudgeon. No, Mike Cam, we are not going for 8 hours tonight. 5 Cent Wax is happy to see Mookie. Yankees fan is here. There is Jim Define, Mike Polina. 5 Cent Wax. Let's go, Jordan. Mookie Chilson, David Chase coming in on 2 wheels. Always. What's up, Fresh Prince Steve? Good to see you, buddy. Diamond Relic, Sammy Hill. Ballpark Alex is here. What's going on? Ballpark Alex put out I thought it was a great post on Instagram just today. Maybe his most recent one, actually. What's up, Larry Gitlin? Michael H. Hello. Piccolina the cat. Michael H. says, Jeremy is a black belt. I can tell. My 7-year-old is closer to black belt than I am. There's Jeff Hart. Jeff Hart is on the train right now. He was supposed, there it says, watching him from on the Amtrak. He was supposed to join us tonight, but he's not going to make it home in time, so we've had to reschedule him for a future episode. David Cooey from Muskegon, Michigan, doesn't have Instagram. Can I send you? David Cooey, you can just send me an email, David. I'm going to put my email up on the screen right now. Send me an email. It's right there, David Cooey. Please, that would be very, very helpful. Confluence says Mookie Chilson, HobbyPalooza ambassador, but you can only hear his voice. Maybe. Oh, we got more nominations for Petty as ambassadors. I like that. Oh, Terp says, oh, you mean the Chop Shop T206 Honus Wagner. I got to take a moment and add Chop Shop to my list of ways to describe it because I'm working on a list. I'm not even kidding. I'm working on a list of ways to describe this FrankenWagner, as we are calling it lately. Hi, Pop Professor Brian is here. What's going on? This Frank and Wagner guy is creating quite the stir. Ron Figg says Pitty's doing his Big Lebowski impersonation with all those F-bombs. Yeah, he was on fire tonight, Mr. Michael Petty. Absolutely. Carl says the nomination must get through unanimously. I think it would. You guys come up with jokes from the clouds? I guess so. What's up, Chad Shipper? He says National is so close. Yes, it is. I can't get through all these comments. Oh, Skeppy says, what shirts are we wearing? Go ahead, David. What do you got on there? I don't recognize it.
I don't know either. It's a clothing brand that looks like it's either death rock or graffiti, one of the two. I just thought it was a fun little
I'm
thing.
wearing the vintage trade night shirt from last year's National, and I'm wearing it because that was hosted by 4 Collectors, and this HobbyPalooza is a 4 Collectors production, so I wore this in support of the 4 Collectors crew. Foul Ball is joining us from the West Coast Card Show. Okay, Fresh Prince Steve says you can tell a lot of people were hesitant to make big buys at the West Coast Card Show. Everyone is waiting for the National. That resonates with you, David, I think. How about this one? Here's a comment on the Wagner from Area 51 says the Honus Wagner is like an endangered species and it's preserving history like the bald eagle, but soaking a 90s junk wax card is feeding rats. Soaking a 90s junk wax card is anyone soaking 90s junk wax cards? I don't know. What's up? Orlando is there. Foul Ball says front row sucks compared to the West Coast Card Show. Interesting because I don't hear people necessarily comparing the two, but I only hear good things about the Front Row Card Show, which, as I'm aligned with them, they are a sponsor of the show. You can see their logo right there. I always love to hear just seems that everybody loves the way that the Front Row shows are run. So, but I'm a big fan of the West Coast Card Show. You know, I like the guys that run that show, and it's been good to me over the years. I've enjoyed my 3 visits to the West Coast Card Show.
One thing about what Foul Ball is saying, just because I know how Foul Ball collects, there were a lot of tables that had raw cards there and had like binders and things like that. And I know that that's right up a Foul Ball's alley. So totally get it for him.
Yeah, it might have sucked for him for sure, comparatively speaking. Steve Lane here says the Dallas show was packed. Some usual dealers who might have gone to Fanatics Fest were replaced by new dealers who were on a waiting list to get a table in Dallas. See, that's interesting. That's an angle I haven't thought of, is that people who are having to choose one show over the other are opening up their reserved booths for other people who are on the waiting list. That's kind of a nice side effect of the whole thing for those people. So, and for the attendees who are going to see fresh inventory, fresh vendors, fresh dealers, fresh faces, new people to meet. I think that's actually pretty cool. Yeah, pretty neat. Michael H says in the 80s, you could get deals in the last few hours of the weekend. Yeah, I mean, in the 2025s, you could. You know, it's really a very recent thing that it's harder to do. What's up, Kinger? Nick Chen says, I've seen videos that the Dallas show was packed, just like Steve Lane said. That's good to hear. Very good to hear. Boomy, roughly what % of the West Coast Card Show is Pokemon? It was almost nothing. Is that right, David? Because they do a Pokemon show and a sports show. They split them out, do they not?
No, that's just in February. So like the February Ontario show is straight sports. This one is combined. And that's why the place that was before all Pokemon was empty. They had the empty tables. So Pokemon now was like the perimeter of the show. It was like I would say 1/3 of like the right-hand side of the room plus the back of the room. So it was probably half, but at least they were mostly separated. But you still have to kind of walk through it because there are some sports that are within those ones. When they were really, really separated before, there was zero sports. It was literally all Pokemon. So they try to section it off more than a lot of other shows, but not perfectly. But there was like kind of like the vintage crowd was like 3 rows that were mostly all together. So for like people like me, you still go through and see everything else, but you walk through it very quickly and then you're staying on, mostly 3 rows.
Okay. So, well, good to know. Good to hear for sure. Foul Ball also says eye appeal is overrated. What do you think? What do you think, David? Is eye appeal overrated? I guess it really depends what eye appeal is to you.
It's overrated. Right? Don't buy eye appeal cards. I listen to Foul Ball and buy those off-center cards and stuff because they are expensive and annoying. And these are the cards that I'm trying to buy, and I would rather people not like them. To be honest,
eye appeal is overrated. Foul Ball knows what he's talking about here. Don't bother. Don't buy what you like. Don't buy what looks good to you. Let us buy. Let me and David buy what looks good to you. Nobody else buy what looks good. Very overrated. Tony TJ says, looks like Fanatics paid off content creators and companies through partnerships, e.g. CLLCT, to hype up the show. I wonder about that. I mean, I think that they've obviously got content creators on payroll. Heck, they've had me on payroll since they bought PWCC. I've been getting paid by Fanatics for over 5 years now. Every single month I get money from them. But I will tell you that they did not approach me, ask me, pay me off to say anything about Fanatics Fest. It never even, in all the discussions I've had with them, it didn't even come up once. Maybe they didn't want me there. That could be the other piece.
Aren't you offended? Yeah. Aren't you offended for that?
No, I'm not offended. Listen, I would love to be there in a perfect world, but I could not get there now anyway. Even if they said, come, here's a hotel and a flight, and we'll give you a per diem or something, I wouldn't be able to go for family reasons at this time. This weekend exactly is a no-go for me. So unfortunately, which is why we're also not going for 4 hours tonight, because I got somewhere to go tomorrow, but that's another story. So, but yeah, I mean, the one thing that I'm on the fence about is Jason Sudeikis, because he, by the way, I love that guy. He's hilarious. Ted Lasso, and of course the SNL, among other things. but I've seen so many reels and videos with him doing deals with people. And it seems like he's literally just there buying cards for himself. I think his kids were with him today in a video I saw. I don't feel like he's been paid to be there, or like he owes Michael Rubin anything that he's there pumping the hobby. I think other people are. And even okay, Neo. I don't know if Neo did a great video. He's done a couple great videos. I watched his stuff because he's doing walkthroughs and he's showing the show. I don't know. TJ is online. Tony, like, is Neo paid by Fanatics to go there? Because I don't think he is. He might be. I don't know for sure. Neo, if you're watching, let us know if you're paid to be there. I feel like he's just there doing it for content. And I'm sure other people are doing it for that too. Never mind. Of course, I think Mojo is there and King of the Cards is there. Like, the biggest of the big names are there. Like, the guys that get 1 million views on their TikTok reels are there. And maybe they're probably paid, or they're given something to maybe travel. I have no idea what it is, but I don't feel like everybody who's doing content there is paid. I don't even know if that Tony calls out here is Darren Ravel. I mean, he's an independent journalist, is he not? I don't know if he's paid to be there, but. And the other thing that Tony's comment says, it looks like, which Tony is not saying it is. He's just saying that it could be perceived that way. But sorry, David, what do you want to say?
So first of all, I want to mention Mike Ham, who's very good friends with Neo, just said Neo's definitely not paid. So I think that that's a pretty good answer. Let's not say paid, okay? Let's say given incentives, okay? Like, maybe they pay for their hotel. Maybe they pay for them to get into the show, maybe get into the show early. If a company is possibly giving you things, maybe you have a harder time saying negative things about the company. Do you agree with that?
Say it again.
Do you think that, if I know when you read the chat, do you think that possibly that if a company is paying for your hotel and getting you into the show and possibly getting you in early, that maybe you don't want to create content against that or you won't be invited back next year? Is that a possibility?
Absolutely.
So maybe that's going on a little bit more than like being paid to shill and being told what to do.
But to me, that's what Tony is saying. To me, that's the same thing. If you're being paid, if your travel, like flight and hotel and Ubers is covered, and you're getting in, which obviously that's the easiest thing for a show promoter to do, is get you into their show. If you're getting the pass to get in and all that, then to me, you're kind of being compensated to be there. They're covering your flight. That's the consideration you are receiving for you coming there and doing content on the show. So I think that is a fair comment, that could be the case. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So E105 says, when I was a teenager, attending Fanatics Fest would have been absolutely amazing. Today, I have no interest. And you know what? That's a fair comment, right? Like, I would love to be there just to be immersed in all the action and to see the sights and to look at the cards. I probably wouldn't do much. Like, I have no interest in watching a celebrity walk by. That is, I'm not going there to look at celebrities. If one walked by and I got a fist bump, cool, no problem. I'll give a fist bump. I'll get a fist bump. But I'm not waiting in line for autographs. I'm not going across the room to go lay eyes on any other human being. Maybe Eminem. I could see myself walking across the Javits to go just see him in real life. Maybe Madonna too. But that's about it for me. There isn't a single professional athlete. Except the dead ones. If they're dead, I'd be more interested.
How about Paul McCartney?
I mean, respect, but he's no Eminem.
Mick Jagger?
I've seen him. I've seen him,
Yeah, that's why you're the rock star of Sports Cards Live. I get it. All right, You've seen them all. I like it.
Yeah, I'll be signing autographs at the National up there with Aaron Judge and everybody else, Yeah.
I get it. But one thing, we have to remember, we're crazy card people. So for us, Fanatics Fest, I mean, in my opinion, I don't think we're the target market, okay? Because, I would not take my 9-year-old to the National because I'd be babysitting him the whole time. And he would be very bored. Okay,
Yeah.
because he would look at like things that I don't really want to see. He would love Fanatics Fest. Okay, just like how I'm going to Comic-Con next weekend, and I'm not going for me. I'm going for him. So like, we just have to remember that there's a lot of people in the hobby that are not the way we all are. And this is just a way to bring new people in, younger people in, some people that, there's more of the world that does not collect cards than do. And I think that this is really going towards the people that are not 100% into cards. And it's opening their eyes to some interesting interactive activities that has cards involved, which I don't think is a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, buddy. I think it's a great thing. Ken Fickle, good evening. We already said hi to Tony Terp. What is up, buddy? Good to see you as always. Jim at the bank is with us. T. Chris, hello to you. Jake Dull. That's what we do. We say hello to our friends in the chat here on Sports Cards Live. For collectors, says 10x the price of cards with Mike Baker stickers. I don't think that has anything to do with Fanatics personally. Rich Veligan says 10x the current print runs. I mean, they have to. You're 10xing the hobby. You have to increase supply. There's no doubt about it. Jim asked, would I walk 8 miles to see MM? Yes, I would, Jim. Okay, GST Warrior says, I live in New York City and go to Fanatics Fest every Friday for 1 day all 3 years. The show is absolutely incredible. What Fanatics is doing for sports fans is really groundbreaking, to be honest. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it truly is amazing what they've turned this thing into. It's like, and I was at the first one. I wasn't at the second one or the third one, being this one right now. But I have heard that the stumbling that they did out of the gate on the first one is like if they scored a 10 out of 100 on the first show, they're like a 90 on this one. People are so pleased with how it is there. So it's just nice to see that a major event like that is being run well and being well received. And the thing is, like I think you said, David, card collectors are not the main target for it. I don't think. Although I think that it is part of the whole ecosystem. They're trying to bring people in through love of sport towards buying cards and collecting cards so that their tops business can do better. That's what businesses do, guys. They drive revenue. That's all they care about. That's all Fanatics wants to do is drive revenue. And they're driving revenue by building loyalty through customers. That's the playbook. There's nothing mysterious, nothing tricky. They're not trying to fool anybody. It's right in your face. It's right there. So it's and they're doing a really good job of doing it. As an outsider looking in, they're doing a really good job because look what's happening in the hobby right now. It's absolutely crazy. Adam's Card Closet, what's going on? Good to see you. Oh man, way too many comments here, of course, for me to but there's Michael Ham says, interesting, the National is affecting other shows, not just Fanatics Fest. National, listen, I don't think not
Fanatics Fest.
I don't think that that Fanatics Fest is going to hurt the National. I don't think the National is really hurtable. It's a completely different event. And that's what you understand once. I mean, listen, watching content these last couple of days, and not a lot of it, what I've seen, it's pretty clear that they're two completely different. It's almost like I remember actually seeing Michael Rubin and team walking through the National a couple of years ago. Actually, this would have been 2022. And they were walking through before Fanatics Fest was, I don't think they'd even announced it yet. And it was, looking back, it's kind of like, oh yeah, they were scoping it out to see how they could take what they want to do and make it different and better, And better is a weird word there because they're different, but make it a Fanatics Fest, like a Disney World, like a Comic-Con sort of thing. So yeah, it's like you said, I think you made a great point, David, that this month of July and however many days the National leaks into August, and even let's do July 9th to August 8th, because August 8th is the day that the Love of the Game auction ends with the FrankenWagner. That might be, like you said, the period with the 30 days that has the most money transacted in all of the hobby. So could be pretty. Oh, Josh has joined us. Josh, you want to join? He's ready. Everybody, please welcome Joshua Adams, Midwest Mint. Josh, look at the haircut, buddy. You're looking clean.
I know. Good. Hello, David. Hello, Jeremy. I caught so much heat last week. I recoiled in shame to my barber and got a chop. So less and less of it every time.
Well, you're looking good, buddy. You're looking,
Thanks.
yeah.
So you both. You look well.
Thank
What's
you.
happening?
Thank you. Well, we're here. We're chilling. We're doing HobbyPalooza. We're doing Sports Cards Live Saturday night. You know how it goes. But Neo is definitely not paid, says Mike Cam. I'm seeing that now. David, as I make my way through some of the comments. Josh, have you do you have any thoughts on Fanatics Fest? Have you? You're not there. Have you been in the past? Have you watched any content today or yesterday?
I have not. My 12-year-old son was, and he was like, "That's like if I was 12 years old, I'd want to go to this." But I'm a 48-year-old, jaded individual, so it's no longer my thing. But I would definitely take him, and they're just like this weekend is the World Cup final, and I had to go to New York. I was supposed to go tomorrow, but I had to move it because the hotels are like triple the price. Everything's insanely crazy. So, it looks cool. I haven't really watched a lot of the content. I stay away from that type of stuff. But, you can't help but see it as you're doom scrolling on your social media at 2 a.m.
Yeah, David.
And Josh, I just want to ask you, you said that you would someday maybe take your son. Do
Sure.
you think that like at this age you would take him to the National?
He comes to me all the time. He's come the last 3 years. He loves it.
Oh, that
both
takes
do.
that theory out of there. Never mind.
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
3D80s kid says, funny talking to someone with a screen full of logos, LOL. John, I don't know what you mean by that. Could you please tell me in the comments what that means? 'Cause I didn't see who you were responding to. And obviously you're talking about me with this. I will say I do have a screen. Actually, guys, I can do you one better. I have 2 screens. See, I have 2 screens full of logos. Here's screen number 1. I have so many supporters and sponsors and partners of Sports Cards Live that I need 2 marquees. I thought about making it 2 rows. I showed it to my wife. She's like, it looks too busy. I said, all right, I'll just split it into 2. So now I have this one and this one, and I'm adding another one right away. No, seriously, David, I am. I'm also on the advisory board for Collectors MD, which is there to help people who have a problem in the hobby, and I want to add theirs as well. So I got to make room. I think I might need a 3rd one, 3D80s kid. I might need a 3rd screen to accommodate all of the supporters I have. I mean, I might need to do that, but seriously, John, I'm curious what you mean by that, because I just can't tell. As you know, a lot can be lost in text messages. Ron Fig says Neo is Saturday night's main event at Madison Square Gardens. I would pay to go watch Neo on the main stage at Madison Square Gardens. Jeff Will says, if they get paid, I say, who cares? Mind your own business. Why would that bother you? Well, Jeff, I hear the comment, but I think why people mention it is they're trying to warn people to take certain things with a grain of salt and to understand that if somebody is paid to hype up a show, they're being paid to hype up a show. They're not doing it maybe of their own free will. So, and I mean, listen, I know a lot of content. I've been in the content creator game now for 6.5 years, and I've been a professional content creator for over 4 years now. So, I have a pretty good sort of insight into that, and it's a delicate balance. It really is. It really is. So, but there's a reason why some people have sponsors and others don't. It really comes down to who they want to align with and how those people carry themselves. And so it just really depends on that sort of thing. So Mike Ham says Neo given 0 incentives. He does have a media badge, and he got that through normal means. And he also says that King of the Cards is invited by Fanatics Fest. King of the Cards is going to be invited to everything moving forward, guys. The guy he's the biggest in the hobby as far as social media goes. He dwarfs what Jeff Wilson and Sports Card Investor have now. He dwarfs Mojo. Roth Cards isn't even on the radar when it comes to King of the Cards. Kyle, he's a celebrity to some people in the hobby, whether us purists like it or not. He is. And I was thinking about that a little bit, guys. And, one of the things is that before the days of having your computer in your pocket and your ability to just scroll through social media, before the days of influencers, the celebrities were movie stars, TV stars, and musicians. Those were the celebrities, right? And politicians, a few other classifications or groups of people. Nowadays, people don't even watch TV anymore. They don't even people don't go to movies as much as they used to. Young people don't. Their celebrities are the influencers that they're watching on their phones. And that is Kyle, King of the Cards. He's the number one guy in the hobby right now. So of course he's getting paid to be at these things, and he's gonna continue to be, I believe. I shouldn't say of course, because I'm not privy to those dealings, but yeah, it's definitely happening. So okay, I'm gonna go through just a few more comments here, guys. There's lots, and I'm gonna miss some that I want to look at, but Mike Petty says, let's start doctoring cards. Crack doctor, full disclosure, repeat the new hobby. I think he likes your haircut, Josh. I think Petty likes your haircut, which is,
thank you.
I want to see people appreciating Josh's haircut because he does look very, very handsome. Cage says you stay away from hobby content as you are making hobby content. The irony.
Exactly.
It's kind of true, right? There Absolutely is a point where as a content creator, you just want to stop watching content. Sometimes I watch some content, but not as much as I used to. That's for sure. I'm busy making it, actually. I'm just busy making the content versus that. Alex Bridgeforth says Collectors MD and Tag. Tag is not a sponsor of my show. I'm simply an investor in the company, and so that's it. Simple as that about Tag. But I feel like I've said that a million times. But we get new people coming on. Oh, Victor says True RC logo will be on that screen someday. A man can dream. Victor, I support you, brother. And thank you for having me on your show this week. That dropped on Wednesday on Victor's YouTube channel, everybody. Orlando says definitely too much logos are distracting. Well, you're here every week still, though, Orlando, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you very much. Terp says, be proud, Jeremy. It shows you are respected. In the hobby, people want. Yeah, that's how I look at it too. I appreciate it. Absolutely. Terp. Absolutely. What else we got here, guys? Joe P for Hobby Prez. Alex Bridgeforth says transparency and advertisement. Yeah, listen, I got called out early on by people for having sponsors. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna actually advertise it. I'm going to. You can't say that I'm not transparent. That's the important thing. I think that's a very important thing. So I appreciate that comment from you, Alex. All right, so many comments. Let's see what Cage says. Always interesting. He says, I'm just one guy who isn't paid by Fanatics, but I'm very impressed with how they have grown from year one. The cards are everywhere. They were an afterthought year one. And I've been listening to Cage's podcast regularly, watching his story posts on Instagram. And he's somebody who what I've been saying today, some of it has been influenced by the lens that Cage has provided to me and others this weekend as he's been there and even dropping podcasts the days of the show. So I want to thank Cage for helping the rest of us stay sort of connected to the to Fanatics Fest while we can't be there. So absolutely. Is Josh Adams sponsored by his barber?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Double O's card guy he's looking for sponsors now. Absolutely. Skeppy, Jay Lee, do you sponsor anyone as SCL? Do I sponsor anyone? I don't know. I don't think I do sponsor anybody. But I'd be happy to see my logo elsewhere. Why not, right? Fresh Prince is sponsoring himself to go to the National. And Cage says, I spoke to 50 dealers today. Everyone said it was the best show they had so far this year by far. So that's good that it's great for the dealers. I mean, I just wonder, question for Cage and anyone else who was there is, like, can you buy cards for under $500 there? Can you buy cards for, I'm going to say, can you buy cards for $50, $100? I watched a video today where the customer bought a card for $30. So I think you can buy cards for cheaper, but I don't think you're going there with your binders, filling in your sets. I don't think it's that kind of show. But Cage, happy to hear what else you can tell us about that. Flint Hall looks forward to the show every week. It makes him happy. Thanks, Roy. I appreciate that, Flint Hall. Thank you for the nice comment. Yes, Orlando, David Chase is sponsored by Jay Lee. Absolutely. Absolutely. Boomslang sponsored by Pepino Man. Charles says, but it's not marketed to showcase the cheaper cards. It's marketed to showcase the big boy cards. I haven't seen that marketing specifically, Charles, but I can't say you're inaccurate. I just don't know. Oh, here we go. Strong Card says that Neo said there was plenty of $25 to $50 slabs, but no value boxes. That's good to hear. Jeff Will says that Jeff, I think he's spelling it as in Jeff Wilson's wife, bought a shack for $25. Awesome. Kate says, sure, there are so many booths. Some had just lots of cheap cards. It's not vintage heavy. That's true. A few tables with vintage. Good to hear, Cage. Cage, if you want, please keep the observations coming. I'm happy to read them because I find it interesting. I think other people might as well. So, Josh, what's on your mind, buddy? I mean, here we are, another week of Sports Cards Live. What's on your mind this week?
I'm excited for the National. I can't wait. I get to see you, David, and then all my friends that I see once a year. It's like summer camp for old white men, and it's a lot of fun. And I can't wait. It'll be great.
It is. It's summer camp. It's I just wish it was longer. It goes
by so fast, right? It
goes by so fast, and then next thing you know, it's 2 weeks from now. I feel like it's like the end of last August, feeling oh man, whole 11 months till the National. It just comes upon us so quickly, but that's just the way the hobby operates. So sports card camp, right? Why not? You can go to band camp. Why not sports card camp, right? I mean, maybe you're onto something there, LGJ. Mike Camp says, I believe Fanatics does not allow boxes on the table, only in cases. So they are trying to keep it classy in a way, or at least they have some stand. They want to keep it clean. I get that. I know a lot of people, including Josh, loves the dusty booths at the Nationals with the yellow top loaders and the elastics that are starting to dry out and crumble. And
those it's like the vortex, but a good vortex. You could lose hours in there. You can go to the guys with the dusty old programs. That's like you go in there on Tuesday, all of a sudden it's Thursday at noon and you forgot what happened. And it's the best. It's the best.
Yeah, man, I can't wait for it as well. All right, Cage says, do you want to send me a link? I can hop on for a minute if that's easier. You know what, Cage? I am going to send you the link really quickly. I'm going to go find it, find your email here, and I'm going to compose an email. I'm going to send it to you, and you can hop on for a few minutes with us. Let's see if your email comes up for me.
Awesome.
Cage, it does. It does. All right. We're going to just quickly send that to Cage. Let him jump on. But guys, by the way, Al Crusafilli is in the back room right now. He's going to be joining us in about half an hour. Al, you good chilling? Well, we might bring you on a little bit early, Al, but we're going to get Cage to come on first. And then guys, with Al, we're going to have the debate of the century. How do you actually say the name? Is it Honus or is it Honus? Or is it something in between? Hold on. Don't do that again. I'll do that again. Oh, that's gonna be great. We're gonna let Al come on to talk. We're gonna bring Al on and we're gonna talk a bit about that as well. So, listen. And I got some things to say about that, but I'm not going to be controversial. At least I don't think I will. Charles says the National will be more card centric and less about the celebrities and the interpromotional stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It will be. The National is going to be more about the cards than anything else. Zach Pierce says at Dallas, I got a little tired of people telling me they held back stuff for the National. Seemed like sometimes prices were high and dealers would just shrug and say, I'll sell it at the National. Yeah, that's got to be tough. It's frustrating for someone who wants to buy the cards for sure. Patriot Sports Jeff says, I dressed up as an NBA gold sticker at Fanatics Fest. Michael Rubin said it was a top 5% costume. Oh, Jeff Hart taking a page out of Bob Boozel's playbook with that one right there. I love it. Yankees fan is with Josh. The National has hidden treasures that can make the time fly. Absolutely it can. Skeppy says SCL drama Cage is on the way. He hasn't come on yet, Cage. I don't know if you got my email, but I sent it to you. So please come on. David Cooey, I see your email already. Thank you so much. And I gave it a quick read. Very gracious of you. Much appreciated. Play it safe. Call him Mr. Wagner, says Steve at Fresh Prince. I don't think that's a bad idea. That's what I've been calling him a little bit myself. Just again, to play it safe. Absolutely. Stuke says, Johannes Peter Wagner. 2 minutes in Cages. Al, what do you think, Al? You like that one? Yeah.
Don't make Al wait. Put him on. We'll make him
We'll
wait.
bring him on. Don't worry. Al is going to be on for a while. We're going to bring Al on. I promise. The biggest treasure at the National is seeing everyone and watching our kids be so happy, says Let's Go Jordan. Yeah, I can't wait till I can bring my kids to a card show. They're just still too young. And Alex Bridgeforth said, until it doesn't sell at the National. Yeah, you save your cards for the National and then it doesn't sell there. Interesting. Hi Pop says Honus should sound like Hans. Well, should it really? I got something to say about that. GST Warrior Cooper Flag giving an interview live at the Topps booth about signing his debut patch. Little things like that are what makes Fanatics Fest so crazy. I just found it randomly. Yeah, that is very cool. That is pretty cool. Listen, it's cool for sports fans to be able to walk the floor, grab a bite to eat, go kick some balls at the FIFA booth, go shoot some pucks at the NHL, throw a football at the NFL booth, go check out some cards and go watch players talk on the stage, go get an autograph. Like, it's a full thing. Like, I think it's okay. Cage has joined us. Cage, I'm going to bring you on right now. Welcome back to Sports Cards Live. Cage Lawyer. How are you, Cage?
I'm feeling good, man. I think I was on the first one of these. The first ever. I think I was one of the guests on the first Saturday show ever. I was there a couple times, and then I pissed Jeremy off a few times, and it happens
every couple years, Cage.
We took a little break, but we're back.
We're back
and rolling now. We're back.
We're back. You were on. Listen, Sports Cards Live
together.
Changed in November of 2024. Completely changed from being a one-on-one interview to a variety show of sorts. And yeah, Cage, you came on a couple times early on. Yeah. You had your son came on once as well, I believe. He made an appearance too, so that was nice. So tell us about listen, past behind us, Cage. Tell us a little bit about how Fanatics Fest has been for you. Any key observations that maybe we're not hearing elsewhere thus far?
I mean, so the biggest key observation, it's never going to be the National. I'm sure you hear that everywhere, right? I mean, if you're going for value boxes, you're going for, card history, you're going for, it's very hard for anything that's been around for a year, 2 or 3 to compete with something that's been around for as long and has the history that the National does. The National caters to a completely different audience. I mean, it really just does. There are vintage sections, right? The museum stuff that you go to the National for, it almost seems out of place at Fanatics. Memory Lane is in a little booth, and there's this Honus Wagner, Hannes Wagner, whatever you want to call him, Wagner. Honus, Bonus, I don't even know what his name is. But if you haven't seen it yet, check out my my reel that I recorded with Memory Lane. And Ezra Levine at Memory Lane does not know how to do captions. Somehow the word dick is in there. I have no idea. I didn't say that, but it's part of the captions. It's a lot of fun. I didn't say that. Abbreviation for Richard. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, I'm going to say it again later. Don't worry.
But go check that out. But it's there. It's just in the middle of nothing. There's no museum area. There's no National does a very good job of, if you're going to walk through this section, you're going to see the multiple auction houses. You're going to see all of the cards that are on display. You like to go look at Gordie Howe's jockstrap, and there's the Honus bonus somewhere else. But this is one weird card, and it looks out of place there. And that's, I guess, because it's a it's catering to a different audience. But let me give them some flowers now. Number one, I was there year one, and it's the same footprint, right? It's the main floor of the Javits Center. It is huge. I put a little, reel up. It's a minute long. You guys can check it out today, kind of showing half of the floor. It is gigantic. The first year, the cards were in the back right. So when you walk in the main entrance, you didn't see cards. You had to actually seek out the cards. You'd have to walk through FIFA and walk through the UFC and walk through the soccer field and walk through WWE and the main stage. The cards are everywhere. And the celebrities are brought to the cards over and over and over again, whether it's Karl Anthony Towns, whether it's Livy Dunn, whether it's Tom Brady buying cards. The celebrities are brought to the cards to buy cards, and the celebrity interviews that they're doing with them, they're opening cards. I mean, I was a couple feet away from Tom Brady today, and he was opening a box of 2000 Bowman Chrome. Behind the scenes, looking for his own rookie auto. Looking for his own rookie.
Were there cameras on him, or was this him?
I'm sure that content will come out. But cameras, obviously, I mean, you want to share that with people, just like I'm sharing it with you. You know what I mean? But they want to open cards, that they're opening cards. Like Karl Anthony Towns is a legitimate collector. He's buying cards. He wants to own cards. It's kind of a little weird, but you wouldn't think he would. But he wants to open cards, and so that's one. Two, there's an integration going on, which a lot of purists might not love. Fanatics is a huge company, and they have more than just cards. We know this. There's a sports book. They have a gaming area for 21 years and over. There was a cash bar. There's all kinds of stuff. But in their ecosystem, they use fan cash, which they can give you bonuses for free. You walk in there and you spin and get $5 free, $10 free, $20 of fan cash. It's almost like, when FanDuel and DraftKings were trying to, bring in people, and if you put $100 in, they match it with another $100 of DraftKings bucks for bonus bets to play. Well, guess what you could do with fan cash there? Everything. Yeah. I bought a box of cards on the way out, and they said, "How you paying?" And I said, "Well, cash." And they're like, "Okay, we take cash, credit card, fan cash." What do you mean? I'll pay with fan cash. I have fan cash. I'll pay with that, because guess what? I bought my son a bunch of jerseys for Christmas, and I got fan cash for it. It's like credit back on your credit.
Yeah, they're Cage, they're building an ecosystem. I think I listened to one of your podcasts last night. I don't know if you dropped it yesterday or the day before, but you were talking about how they are building something that is what they're building isn't just meant to sell Topps cards or sell sports betting or sell jerseys and hats. They are building a foundation of loyalty to bring people into their ecosystem and to be in there for life. Like they're buying lifelong customers. They're marketing to and creating this thing. And it's and by the way, Cage, I don't know if you've met David Chase before. David, please meet Cage, guys. Is there another example out there in society that is building something like that, or has built something like that? Oh, yes, there is, guys. We all have them in our pocket. It's called Apple. It's called Apple. They're building lifelong customers who are reliant on their technology. And so it's not a brand new playbook. They're just applying it to their Alex Bridgeforth. I think I said it before Alex said it. Apple. They are.
I mean, it's a good example.
Is that what you're picking up on this case?
Yes, but there's a little more to it. It's Apple. I mean, Apple has credit cards. They have their own pay, but I don't know if Apple gives you cash back or loyalty rewards. But one of the things that they just kind of dropped, or at least for me, I saw for the first time in the last week, and I did mention it on my show, Jeremy, is they have these loyalty tiers. And I'm not exactly a big wig, right? I mean, there's Black Label, like an Amex Black card, where Jerry Seinfeld has it, right? Then there's the platinum level where, fancy people get into lounges and the whole deal. Then there's gold. And, I think I'm gold. I'm not platinum, but I'm definitely not black.
You'll get there. You'll get there.
With the gold, you get free tickets to Fanatics Fest. You know what I mean? And there will be a time where the 40/40 lounge is open to the black level guests, the people who really lost a lot of money gambling that year. You know what I mean? Or this lounge that's there, you want to see the Kevin Hart, ice bath, and it's packed, right? When he's got Wemby in the ice bath on stage, and you think that's cool, and you want to go see that because it's packed. There's a lot of people who watch that. Well, they got a little section of separate chairs on the side, and all you got to do is flash your platinum rewards level, and you get the seats. It happened. I saw Derek Jeter give a presentation, like a whole speech with Novak Djokovic and Diana Taurasi and
Mhm.
Alex Morgan. And I sat through that and the whole deal. I have my American Express card. I showed it, and I was able to get into preferred seating area. It's the same kind of thing. It really is. And the National's not doing that. You know what I mean? And look, for some people, I don't, I'm sure they don't like this. It's, I'm sure, I can't read the comments while I'm here in StreamYard, but I'm sure, it smacks of elitism to some, like, hey, I'm not going to be gold. I just want to go through my value boxes. And, maybe Fanatics Fest is not for you. And I think they understand that. You know what I mean? If they were on here and they were being interviewed, they would tell you that they're not trying to supplant the National,
Yeah,
and
agreed.
if there's anything I've seen, the hobby can have these shows, 2 weeks apart, and there's enough money, enough cards, enough interest, enough craziness going on in this space that you could have it. Look, just this weekend, you got Dallas, Burbank, and this Fanatics Fest all going on at once, and by all accounts, all the shows are packed, and all the shows are hopping.
Well, yeah, we have heard a bit that Burbank was slower than usual, but Dallas, from what I've heard here tonight at least, has been hopping like you said. Cage, just like one last sort of comment on something that those of us that aren't there may not expect or know or realize. Is there any other observation you have from Fanatics Fest you could share with people to give some additional insight into the event itself? Something that we may not know, realize, or expect. Something you kind of have to be there for. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but is there anything else you can kind of send us off with?
Yeah, I mean, just two things, right? If you're on the fence about going, obviously it's in New York. It's not the cheapest thing in the world to get here if you're not local. But if you're into celebrity sightings, if you're more involved in this hobby than just I want to build a set, I want to do the cards, but you're in this because of your fandom, which obviously that's what Fanatics is, right? I mean, that fan is a short for Fanatics. If you're in this because you're a rabid Nick fan and you want to pick your head up from the table you're buying cards at, and Carl Anthony Towns is literally walking 5 feet away from you, and you can snap a picture with him or see Wemby or actually see some of these guys do a panel, you name it. This is probably a place you'd want to go. If that's not for you and you really just want to do cards and you want to build your 1965 top set, which there's nothing wrong with, this is probably not the place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying anything that's not already known, but the celebrity thing is cool. They changed it this year. It used to be that kind of like they were like very guarded by security. They put in these walkways this year. They call them Walk of Fame. There's 2 of them to go between the events and the stages and stuff. And what happens is you kind of know when a celebrity is going to come out, and people line up along these walls and get high fives. It was a cool little addition that they did. They had it almost like a de facto Knick parade today with all the Knicks guys, and Carl Anthony Towns has the trophy and he's letting people touch the trophy and they're giving high fives and stuff like that. Like, I haven't seen a lot of content or videos about it and stuff, but like that's cool stuff if you're a fan of that. You know what I mean? Wrestling. So, I mean, there's like a wrestling con. Wrestling is still huge. It's not as big. First year, it was almost like a wrestling event entirely. But, I mean, they timed this event. I don't know if they're going to be able to catch lightning in a bottle like this ever again, to be honest. But this weekend is not only the FIFA finals, your World Cup finals, but you also had 2 blocks away is Madison Square Garden. It's literally two city avenues, 2 blocks. Yeah. It takes 15 minutes to walk it.
And you just had the Knicks winning the championship. I mean, in that,
and there's a WWE event going on right now as we speak. I mean, there's so much stuff going on there. So it's, I mean, I can't really, say that there's anything there that you're not going to see on the content. But I did speak to some people from Fanatics, and believe me, don't believe me. I have no reason to lie to you. I didn't get $1 from them. Every one of them says the same thing. I know you talk about 10x the hobby. They don't say that anymore. They talk about they want what's good for the hobby. And honestly, if the National doing records is good for the hobby also, I really think they'd want to see that as well. I don't think they view it really as a competitor thing. I know that's a great talking point or a great headline for content, like Fanatics Fest is going to kill the National. No, it's not, because Fanatics Fest is just going to bring more people into it.
Yeah, it's going to grow it. It's going to grow the National.
It's going to grow it 100%.
Yeah.
I will say one more thing before you bring your other guest on. There's one thing this hobby cannot do without. Right, and you have sponsors. I have much less, but I have one also. We have one in common. Fanatics Fest would go on and it would be successful if they didn't have all the athletes. Fanatics Fest would go on and it would be successful if it wasn't the World Cup. It would be successful if Justin Bieber didn't happen to randomly pop by today. I mean, I happen to see he was, a couple blocks away doing something, and then he just shows up and he's winning the games and he did a concert. I mean, that's not happening at the National, but it could happen here in New York Fanatics Fest. But if Justin Bieber didn't show up, Fanatics Fest would survive. You know what? You know what would kill it? If Card Ladder went down for the weekend.
Yeah.
Because that in the card stuff, I mean, it is amazing more than ever before. Everyone, I see 12-year-olds. It's a boom, 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 Card Ladder, boom, 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 boom. What's the comp? What's it selling for? How much did it sell for last time? What's the last 4 sales? Okay, here's what I'll pay you. That, believe it or not, that's the most important tool there.
Yeah, you know what? You okay? Appreciate all the comments. I think you're right. I agree with what you're saying. I hope there's a new podcast for me to listen to later tonight, and I'll send you off with this thought, Cage, that maybe you can think about. And I hope to hear you speaking about it soon, if you feel it's worthy. Which is, you said that you feel like Fanatics just wants what's best for the hobby.
Correct.
I would like you to. I would love it if I could hear you speaking to what does that mean? Don't say it now. What is good for the hobby? Good for who? Good for Fanatics, good for the purist collector, good for the new age collector, good for who? That I think is key to what you were saying. I'd love to hear some thought on that. We can talk about it again later. Cage, thanks for dropping by and for reporting from Fanatics Fest. We'll see you in the National.
Take care.
Take care, man. All right. Thanks, Cage, for dropping by. Al is in the chat. We're gonna bring him on. Josh had some difficulty. He's gonna be back. We're gonna bring on Al and Josh in just a moment. I want to quickly do some comments that I've sequestered here into the starred section. Petty says Hans is short for Johannes. Okay, Honus is his American name, hence Ho-Nus, bonus, baby. All right, thank you, Petty. He also says, it's friggin' Honus. Let's not be stupid, you morons. That's Mike Petty. Patriot Sports Cards. Jeff says, Carl Anthony Towns said he worked at a card store when he was a kid. I've seen content of him collecting. It's absolutely awesome to see. Orlando says, Fanatics is genius. Chris C says, the difference is Apple isn't a monopoly. Okay, the other difference is that Apple sells phones, Chris, and Fanatics sells sports. I mean, I wasn't looking for an exact analogy. I hear you, but the other thing is that Apple has strength. I think Android is maybe the unlicensed version of phones when you compare it to Apple. Map here says it won't be long before Fanatics has its own flagship hotel and casino. Makes me think of the Hard Rock. BP Squared says Fanatics has a relationship with athletes that other companies don't. That's a massive edge for the company. And Jeff Will says Brady collected as a kid. That collecting love doesn't go away. Look, the guy is rich, so his life is just different. Absolutely, as it should be. Okay, Josh, you're on in a different place now. We're going to bring Josh back on.
Sorry, the power outage here.
All good, buddy.
All right.
All good. All good. Thanks for coming back. And we're going to bring Al. Al, you good? Give me a thumbs up, buddy, if you're ready to join us. All right, we already welcomed Joshua Adams. Everybody, please welcome Al Crusafilli from Love of the Game Auctions, the man who is auctioning off the Mr. Wagner card. Al, welcome to the show. How are you?
So excited to be here. Hello, everybody. And I got to tell you, I've been listening. I've been on for a couple hours now, listening first on YouTube and then in the studio. David, I completely agree about Worldwide Gum. Completely agree about Worldwide Gum. I think I'm prepared to sit here and talk all night about Worldwide Gum, if you would like. And then also I agree about Fanatics. I was at Fanatics today, which was really, really cool. It was a really great experience. It was a lot of fun to be there. It's not an apples to apples comparison with the National at all. And you know, it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience. There were little kids there. I was talking to these two little girls, maybe about 11 or 12 years old, that were there with their soccer team. And they were talking about the WPBL, which is about to debut at the end of this month in Springfield, Illinois, which I think is great. And you know, you could just feel this enthusiasm on the floor of the Javits Center that that I don't feel at the National. But at the same time, the National is about old friends. It's about museum quality baseball and sports history. It's a different thing, and I think there's plenty of room for both. So if you want to talk about that all night, we can.
Al, I think you're right. I think there's Fanatics Fest is not going to kill the National or vice versa. I think Cage actually said it really well. I think it's only going to help grow the National, because Fanatics is doing a good job of listen, some people might not think they're doing a good job, so I'll just say Fanatics is doing a job of growing the hobby. They are growing the hobby, whether you like the direction they're growing it in or not. I mean, listen, they're a business. They have to drive revenue, shareholder value, and profit, and that's what they're going to do. And hopefully somewhere in there, they actually do care about the hobby. And I think that it's in their best interest to care about the hobby. The difference is they're a private company. They don't need to drive quarterly results. They actually can invest long-term and not worry about those quarterly results that are going to hurt them on the stock market. If and when they IPO, which I think eventually they're gonna, then the story might be different. And that's when you're going to see a lot of people changing their tune or becoming really frustrated. If you don't like it now, just wait until that happens. What do you think of that, Al?
I think you're dead on, and I think there's so the National itself. I think since Joe Drellick and Jimmy Ryan got involved, I think it has really already improved a lot in a short amount of time. I can tell you, on the floor of the Fanatics Festival today, I felt old. There were all of these. I would be sitting. I hung out in the CGC booth for most of the time I was there today, and this entourage would walk by with cameras and just security people, and I would say, "Who's that?" And they would tell me some name that I've never heard of, and I would say, "What do they do?" And they're an influencer. Oh, okay, all right, okay, that's cool. I've never heard of that person, and so I felt like completely out of touch. When I go to the National, I feel young. and yeah, so there is that difference too, but anyway,
Al, I know you know Josh. Do you know? Have you met David Chase?
I have not met David Chase other than watching him here on this channel, and so that doesn't count as met, I guess. But it's
well,
it's nice to meet you, Al.
It's nice to meet you too, David.
Thank you.
And hello to everybody.
Hi, Al.
Well, Josh, it's always good to see you. And
how are you?
I'm doing okay. It's been a fun couple of weeks, and
why is that, Al? Why is that?
Well, because of the National and the World Cup and the All-Star game.
How about now that we've all gotten to know each other, let's talk a bit about the Wagner card. I want to ask you this: are you or your consignor that you know of offended that people are now calling it the FrankenWagner?
Look, I think both of us. No, we're not offended. I think both of us understand. And I think anybody who's been in the hobby for any length of time, if you're presented with this card, you know that you are going to have a whole range of opinions, and some of them are going to be very strong negative opinions. Some of them are going to be very strong positive opinions. I think the best thing about this whole thing, other than the fact, besides the fact that my company gets to sell a Wagner, which is really cool, I think that the best thing about this is that it brings this discussion of card restoration versus card alteration out into the open, which was what my consignor's goal was 30 years ago when he had this card restored. And so I think it's in that respect, it's really cool. And there's a lot of things that I think we can talk about today. But the thing that I'm hoping for is that I know everybody's got opinions, but I'm hoping that everybody can approach this with an open mind tonight as we talk about it.
Yeah, and not
try.
only tonight. Oh, not only tonight, right? Tonight and
Sure.
all the way through the end of the auction, which does end on August the 8th. That'll be the end date of the weekend after the National. Now, you just used the word restored and altered. What about the words fabricated, reconstructed, art card? I am still not sure how to describe it. Like, when you think about the definitions of altered or restored, I don't, and you heard me say this last week on the show, I don't know that I actually know that I'm not comfortable with only those two words. I am comfortable with restore. I think it has been restored, but I think it's more than just restored. I think the only alteration happened when Honus was cut by whoever cut him 100 years ago. I think that's the alteration. And now I think it's been restored with the backing of the Johnny Leach card. Johnny Leach?
Tommy.
Tommy.
Tommy. Yeah.
The Tommy Leach.
I have a reasonable amount. I mean, we've done so much digging on this card and we've done so much research. I think the Tommy Leach card is the most likely donor card. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The main one being Tommy Leach's silhouette, his portrait, fits perfectly right inside the Wagner. If you had looked at any other of the possibilities, there's something that sticks out a little bit that the conservator would have had to work with on the background. Some of those cards with deep orange backgrounds, they're full body shots. So there's an arm like reaching up with a baseball in it, or there's a baseball bat or something like that the conservator would have had to contend with when putting Wagner in there. The other reason why I think it's Tommy Leach is because if you're a T206 person, you know that those were printed in various groups, and that sweet capper out back that the Wagner comes with, Tommy Leach was also available with that back. And so I think it was a natural card. And then I personally, obviously I don't have access to the conservator, but I personally think that using a card with a subtly different background makes it clear. Nobody's ever going to mistake that nobody's ever going to try and pass that card off as something that it's not. It's a restored Wagner. And I think that was part of the objective 30 years ago as well, was to not like, we're trying to illustrate that what the kind of things that can be done with paper and with cards, but we don't want to try and fool anybody. And I think that's where that definition of alteration and restoration, where they kind of butt up against each other. And Jeremy, I'll pose a hypothetical. It's not really even a hypothetical. It's just kind of an opinion. And I don't want to put thoughts in your head about why you feel the way you do about that word.
Which word?
The word restoration versus fabrication versus whatever. I think what we have in our hobby that's a little bit different from most other collectible hobbies is that restoration in other hobbies has always been out in the open. It's always been accepted. But for whatever reason in our hobby, restoration has always been deceptive. It's been done to try and fool you into thinking that this card is in better condition than it is, so you pay more money for it. Now, are any of you guys car guys, automobile guys?
I put all my money into cards versus cars, but we can still go down this road. Go ahead.
So I learned about this. I'm not a car guy at all, so I may be using some terminology here that's crazy and sounds like maybe
like what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't. But obviously, as we were researching this whole thing and trying to figure out like how do you present this to the hobby in a transparent way, right? I was looking at other collectible categories, right? We know that comics get restored, movie posters get restored, furniture gets restored, every possible old manuscripts, old important historical documents, works of art, all of these things. Somebody makes it. I've seen the comment, probably 100 times over the past week. you know, you're not going to put arms on the Venus de Milo. You're not going to put arms on the Venus de Milo because when it was discovered, it had no arms. Nobody knows what position those arms were in. Were they holding something? Nobody knows. And there are thousands of statues that have had arms put on them. The Venus de Milo has had restoration done to her nose, her lips, her clothes, but just they didn't put arms on it because they didn't know what were her arms doing. We would be making something up that we don't know. Anyway, so when we're talking about this issue of restoration, the one example that I got hit with that I think is the best parallel is the Ferrari 250. What is it? The Ferrari 250 GTO. Okay. Which is one of the if I click comments over here, do I have access to the comments?
You do, but
I don't want to read it.
Don't bother. No. It just you'll let me be me distracted is enough.
Right, that's fine. So the Ferrari 250 GTO is considered like the Hannes Wagner of collectible automobiles. Okay, there were 36 of them manufactured. They are tracked the way T206 scholars track Hannes Wagner's, where people try and know, what's the provenance of each one, where is each one, when were they sold. If you go to T206resource.com, they actually try and number them so they know where as many of them as possible are. They do the same thing with this Ferrari, where they track them by chassis number. So the most valuable, there was a private transaction where one was sold in 2018 for $70 million. Okay, that's crazy money. Okay,
yeah.
But the one that I think is the best parallel is one that was built in 1962, and I don't remember the chassis number because why would I remember the chassis number? But it was built in 1962. It's one of 8 Ferrari 250 GTOs that has the steering wheel on the right side of the car. Okay, so it's rare within rare, and it appeared in a couple of different races, and then it was retired in 1962, and the owner donated it to a high school in Texas, and they used that car for shop class, so teaching students, teaching kids how to do engine work, how to do body work, how to do all of these kinds of things to cars, that how to do basic automotive maintenance. The kids painted the car red. They rode it around in parades, and then eventually in the early 70s they sent it off to auction, and some guy in Ohio bought it. They moved the car up to Ohio, and he drove it for a while, and then had some engine trouble. And after it had the engine trouble, he put it in a field on his property outside, and it was subjected to the elements for 15 years. And during those 15 years, the body completely rotted. It got separated from the chassis. Some collector came, at this point, that car is considered, if it's a different car, it's considered, let's junk it. It's a useless thing. But some collector bought it in the early 80s. Built a new body, gave it a brand new body. Okay. Then another collector bought it, found the old chassis, found the old body, reunited it with the chassis, brought in all new aluminum, refabricated the whole sections of the car where the body rot was, repaired the engine with all vintage parts, but not the parts that came with the car. New wheels, new tires, new everything. Restored the paint back to its something close to its original factory blue. The car is completely different than the car that came off the line, and it's considered one of the most famous cars of that issue. It's considered a restored car, and it's worth tens of millions of dollars. It's not worth $70 million. It's worth tens of millions of dollars because the collectors understand the work that was done on it and how much restoration was done on it. But nobody says that's not a Ferrari 250 GTO. So anyway, that's I think a great parallel to this card, which has obviously had a lot of work done with vintage parts, but it's beautiful and it's got a great story. And, that's kind of my position on the card. I completely understand there are going to be people who just say, nah, that's not for me. And I've met a lot of people and spoken to a lot of people over the last week or so who have said, this card is incredible. Guys, it's a really cool card. No matter where you fall on the spectrum of whether or not it's acceptable, it's a really cool card and it's beautiful. And so I'm proud to have it in the auction. And I'm also really happy that, unlike a lot of other cards, it's being sold with full disclosure, full transparency. If you go look at my website, we're showing you the alteration. We're showing you before and after pictures. We're showing you infrared of the card, and so you can see where the in painting is and all of it. We're not trying to tell you you're buying something that you're different or that's what it is.
No, I mean it's I think your analogy it gets your mind thinking, and there's a lot. Like I'm just reading, I'm keeping track of a lot of the comments in the chat. There's a lot of closed-minded people
there are, but I expect it.
No, and they have the right to be. You have the right to be closed-minded. I'm not a closed-minded person, but we have many in the chat who are, and they, and it's people have their thoughts, they have their positions on things. You as your auction company, your consignor, the hobby doesn't care what anyone who's not bidding thinks anyway. Really, they're not going to make a difference. But I do want to go through some comments because there's some good stuff here. I'm going to go through a lot of comments here, about 16 comments, guys. And then we're going to come back and we're going to go to David and Josh, and we're going to come back to you, Al. So you can all, I would ask you, take some notes if you want on because you might have a few things going through your mind here, Al, David and Josh as well. But let's just go through some things here. First of all, a couple of Ron Olmsted is back, loves the show, doesn't catch it live very often, but it's definitely my favorite pod. Ron, thank you so much. Glad you're here. Okay, some people are taking stabs at what to call the work done to the card. Terry Fortune says conjoined. Stukes says rebuilt Wagner. Brian says a collage. Chris says jigsaw card. Ken Fickle says artwork with a question mark. Larry Gitlin says not only restored, but enhanced. I like that. Jeff Will says altered equals fraud, dangerous precedent we're walking down when we accept restored cards. Can't do it. I think Jeff Wills is just wrong. I think I just lost the comment. Damn it. I don't think that altered equals fraud. Altered only equals fraud if you're trying to deceive somebody. But if altered equals fraud, then every vintage card in the hobby is fraud, because every vintage card in the hobby is altered by this point. Not to deceive, but honest alteration. That's a big difference there. So if you are calling this type of job, work done to a card, to be fraud, you don't have the intelligence really required, or at least you haven't thought of it completely, and you're just kind of not. This isn't the show for you if you feel that way. There's more 101 stuff out there that's better for you if you think that that the card itself is fraud. The fact that it doesn't have the native orange background tells you right there it's not fraud. Plus, like Al just said, everything that's on the website. Here's a great question though, Al. Actually, we'll come back to that. It's a question from Mookie. We'll come back to it. Just want to say, Lion Card Trader, glad to have you here with us. Jeff Will said, car analogy, if you need to explain, you're losing. Not true at all. This does require, Jeff, your comments, I do just caution you, Jeff Wills, to just, try to use a bit more logic if you can, because that's just not, we come here to talk about cards 3 or 4 hours every Saturday night, guys. I mean, we don't need, we're talking about cards. That's what we do here. So, and I'll tell you, I've talked to Al quite a bit. Al can talk. So it's also just who Al is, that he likes to tell stories. I mean, it's just the way it is. Rob Starr says, when you bring two separate entities together to create one, you are fabricating a new piece. I think that is bang on. I think that explains it, Al. So think about that for a few minutes, Al, if you don't mind. Petty says, No, not if you are restoring and disclosing. That is not fraud. Non-disclosure is clearly fraud, though. Absolutely, Petty. Absolutely. There's some logic right there. It's good to be back, says Sports Car Live. Auburn says, okay, wasn't Keith Olbermann even somewhat fooled? He owned the card and wasn't aware it was the die-cut copy or authentic. Al, before we go, I'll leave that one there for a moment, Al. Can you address that? Now, Keith Olbermann isn't with us, but assuming, Al, that you've had lengthy conversations with him, what can you tell us about that?
So there was an article in, do you guys know VCBC magazine? Vintage, Josh, I know you do. It's Vintage and Classic Baseball Collector. It was a magazine that was published in the early 2000s or late 1990s to the early 2000s. There was an article that was a very, very controversial article called, it was about open and honest restoration in the hobby. And what it was an interview with a paper conservator who did work on cards and was very proud of the work that he did, right? As are most conservators. If you go to conservators' websites, they'll show you, 52 manuals that they worked on, and they'll show you before and after photos. What happened to the card after that is not their issue, right? So this particular guy was saying, okay, so the work is being done on cards, and we're very proud of it, but not everybody discloses it. So Keith read that article, and he became very interested in the concept and of learning, what you could do with cards. I think Josh and I were a part of a community where we were all kind of learning at the same time in the early 2000s, like you can get a card wet. Like these are things that collectors today just take for granted, that cards get soaked. Like for a long time, I thought like, oh, you don't want to wet a card with even water, right? So you're kind of learning, wow, they can do all this stuff to cards. So Keith sent this gentleman a card to restore. And he restored it and he sent it back and explained what he did to it. And Keith said, we should do a really high profile card and then bring it out to the hobby and show the hobby, look what we did. So that person said, listen, I have a lead on a really poor condition Wagner. And Keith said, let's go, let's do it. And so he never saw the Wagner. If you look, and it's not on my website yet because I just got it, but the original catalog listing, today when some auction house sells a Wagner, that's lot number 1. This Wagner was lot number 875 in the auction that it appeared in. Okay, and so Keith had never seen it, and what he got was the restored Wagner. And the way he tells the story is he was given the Wagner. He picked it up in person. And then he was blown away by the work. He brought the card back, put it in his safe, and then went off to cover the Super Bowl that year. And he was gone for 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever it was. And then he came back, opened up his safe, looked at the card, and said, "I need to understand what this is. This is crazy. This looks so good." So he tried to get in touch with the conservator, and the conservator had vanished. No phone number. No phone number didn't work. Emails bounced back. He even wrote him a letter, returned to sender. And so Keith said, I don't know what this is, and I can't rightly go out and crow about it. So it became a paperweight in his office, which is amazing to me because this Wagner, this die-cut Wagner, sold in that auction and then disappeared. All of the people who were following, who were trying to trace the provenance of all of the T206 Wagners, they had no idea what happened to this one. It was in an auction, and then nobody ever saw it ever again. Well, now we know what happened to it. In the time, in that ensuing time, Keith was able to acquire another Wagner for his collection. Actually, at one point, he had 4. It's well known that he owns the Wagner strip, which I think is the best Wagner. And he's got another trimmed Wagner. And so this card kind of became an afterthought. It's funny. He told me his story. He said, I've moved from apartment to apartment to apartment. And each one of those times I go and I make sure my Wagners are properly insured for the move, and I make sure that they're secure, and I take them and I bring them. And this one I throw in a box, and the movers just move it to the next place. And it's the craziest thing in the world. He said one time I had the movers come and pack up, and just left this card for them to just pack up. At any point they could have just made off with a Wagner. And so, when he brought it to my attention, it was the die cut. The die cut was the obvious one. I was just aware of that card. If you go, like I said, if you go to T206 Resource, you just scroll through and it's right there. And what I did was I went back to Rob Lifson and I asked, because it was his auction, I went back to Rob Lifson and I asked him if he could produce a scan of that card from the catalog, because it wasn't even an internet auction. It was in 1996. So there was just like a printed catalog. So he had to actually take it somewhere and have it scanned. And he sent me to scan, and I asked Keith to send me a nice photo of the card straight up. And then what I did was I put them together on top of each other in Photoshop. And you can actually see on my website, you can see the video where I just fade one into the other. And you can see the places where there's a crease and there's a little, it's clear.
Right. So sorry, Al. So this is how we know that the card from that auction is the paperweight card, which is now this card.
Yes.
But not only that, Andy Broom from CGC
yes,
authenticated it as well and slabbed it. I know there's some questions about why CGC, why not. We can get into that in a little bit. I want to check in on David and Josh, because it's been you and me for a while now, just see if either of David or Josh have any comments, questions for Al. David, you're nodding yes. What's on your mind, David?
So firstly, I want to say that's interesting about this that I feel like isn't brought up enough is that this was reconstructed like 30 years ago. I think it'd be very different if it was reconstructed a month ago, right? And I mean, this was really done for his own personal taste. This wasn't done for him to flip, right? And I think that that's a really important aspect of this. He was doing it for the art because it's his card that he thought was very cool. That's different to me than somebody that is doing this, they buy it and they're trying to sell it right away. I don't know if it should be different, but I do like it that it's for the collector side a little bit more than for the sales side. I mean, I have so many questions for you, Al, but I don't want to get too much into it. But do you have any idea now, like what happened to the card doctor that disappeared? Is there any knowledge or thoughts on that? There's nothing that we can find out about him?
No idea. And there were some folks that tried to look him up. I mean, from my standpoint, doesn't really matter. I know what was done to the card, and we were able to, and CGC was able to verify what I thought, because they have this, I forget what the machine is called, but they're able to put this card in and fire all different kinds of light at it, and they can, you can see on my website, you can see where the in painting is. I mean, it's pretty cool technology for detecting, any kind of work that's been done on a card.
And with Keith, like having that conversation with the artist that ended up doing this, was it ever discussed? Because he did paint the Wagner, right, to be able to fix parts of even the die cut part. Was there ever a thought of painting the background to make it orange? If you're going to paint it at all, why not go that extra step? What's your thought on that?
One of the things that I think gets lost in the discussion is the fact that the goal of this wasn't to hide and make a perfect Wagner. The goal of this was to show the kinds of things that paper conservators can do to baseball cards. And when we talk about alteration versus restoration and things like that, I'm sorry, we all have altered cards in our collections that we don't know are altered. We all have them. I mean, all you have to do is go to Blowout and look at all of the work that Boda did for years at the before and after work on even the most common cards. Okay. So cards that were sold as 3s that had a little stain and now have a little bit sharper corners in their 5s and that kind of stuff. It's an epidemic, and it has been for years and years and years in this hobby. I think 30 years ago, like you said, that the goal of this was for a collector to have the work done on the card and then to present it to the hobby and say, look at the before and after on this. This is, it was described to him as a poor condition card. And what he got back in, I mean, if you look at, and this is a whole different discussion about what has happened to grading standards over the last 30 years. But if you look at that card through the lens of a 1990s collector, that's a near mint card. It's not today, but by 1990 standards, absolutely is. So that's pretty tremendous work.
Yeah, that's all. Can I go one more, Jeremy?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
And I know you're going to get into the current grading situation, which I'm excited to hear about. But do you know over the last decade before this recent time, did he ever try to get the card graded at that time?
No. Keith is a notorious disliker of third-party grading. I think one of the things that maybe some folks who are newer to the hobby don't realize, Keith is one of the most sophisticated collectors I've ever known. He's been collecting since the 60s. If you're familiar with he wrote for baseball card magazines. He was the editor of a baseball card magazine in the 70s. If you're familiar with the 1975 SSPC set, Keith Olbermann wrote the player bios on the backs of all those cards. Keith Olbermann was a photographer for Donruss. He shot baseball cards in the 80s. In the 90s, when he was on MSNBC, every year when Topps came out with the new cards for that issue, Keith was the guy who opened the first pack on television. This is a collector who's been at it for a really long time. Notoriously does not like grading, and you do a little bit of internet research and you can see that for decades, Keith is not a fan, but he also recognizes that in the case of a card like this, it's got to have third-party evaluation, especially initially the plan was not to sell this card. The plan was to verify, wow, I have this Wagner. And so we needed a grading company to do that. And then once we did, look, guys, I own an auction house. My job is to sell baseball cards. And I knew that when Keith said, we're going to go out there and we're going to publicize this, my feeling was the time to sell is when everybody's talking about it.
Great time.
So it was kind of me that leaned into that a little bit.
As you would. Josh, how about you? Any thoughts or questions?
I think it's cool. I mean, you got to preserve. This is, like someone said earlier, this is hobby history. The Wagner is the most, important and most iconic card in the hobby. And, it's important to preserve hobby history. And it's not the first time a reconstructed card is sold. Like the Just So Tobacco Burkett sold in REA, I think like 2018 or 2019, and PSA put it on the flip as trimmed, altered. Like they put a new back on it. So I mean, it's an important card, and it's gonna be fun.
I should note, and Josh, you're aware of this. There are two other restored Wagners in PSA holders that are graded restored, and one of them just recently sold for $1.9 million. And if you look at the before and after of that card. I mean, that card had so many creases, and they're gone, and I mean, creases that broke the surface of the card, and I mean, it's beautiful. But if you don't like altered cards, you don't like that one. If you don't like restored cards, you don't like that one, and so it's
it's gonna be fun.
I think that this card is being. I mean, a lot of people are very sort of flippant about it. They're just writing it off to certain for what some reason that makes them just dismiss it. But I think that this is a bit of a watershed moment in the hobby with this particular card. I really do. I just don't know what that watershed moment is about, or it's a combination of the things. Listen, the word altered doesn't really work for me for this card because it's inherent in the silhouette. I don't even call it die cut. It's the silhouetted Wagner. It wasn't die cut. That implies it was cut with a die. It was cut out with some sort of scissors or something. But it's the authentic silhouette of Wagner from an authentic T206 Wagner card. It represents about half of the original Wagner card. The other half is the Tommy Leach. So you are marrying these two cards together. Again, I'm okay. I'm not the word altered. It's almost like obvious. So it's definitely, the card has been restored, but it's also been refabricated, reconstructed using a genuine T206, which I love that they used a genuine T206 and not just some generic card stock. I like that they used an authentic T206. I love that it does not look the same. I'm one of the few people that love that this is a one of one in a way. There will never be another Honus Wagner like this unless someone comes across another one that some kid cut out Honus from the background itself. This is the only one that will ever come around like this. It stands apart from all the other Wagners, not only because of what it is, the way it was made, the inputs that were used to make it. So I think that this watershed moment type of thing has to do with restoration and art. This, to me, the restorer is somewhat of an artist. They had to bring these two pieces together to make it look good. They had to, I don't know, sew the fibers together, whatever they did to attach the silhouetted Wagner on top of the Leach. They did a great job. It looks great from what I can see with the card. And so I don't like, to me, I would love to own it. Like I think this thing, I think it's an amazing piece. I would love to own it. I'm not going to, unfortunately, but the other, so like, is this a moment where 5, 10, 20, 30 years down the road, we're going to look back and say, yeah, it was that Wagner, the Oberman Wagner on Love of the Game, that's when the hobby changed, or that, not when the hobby changed, but that's when restoration. Now we're talking about transparency here. We're talking about which I've been calling for years, for a while now. I've even gone as far, Al, and you guys have probably heard me say this, is saying, whoever the restorer is, the artist, they should sign their name on the card. Like, be proud of your work, initial it or something. Now, this guy didn't do this in the late 90s. Wish he would have. But this is, I think we're going to look back at this moment and say, yeah, it was that card back in 2026 that finally opened the doors for restoration and like high-end card art. Imagine you have just the scuzziest of 52 tops mantles. You found it, and this thing is just, it's gross, you know? Now it's still cool. A lot of people like to own it, but some people would rather restore it. And maybe the back is so tattered and hardly there that you grab another 52 tops card and you find a way to bring them together to make it look better than it did. Doesn't even have to have that same bluish background. It can have a different color background. And I think I would advise, if you're doing this kind of work on cards, you should make it look different from the original, because that helps towards transparency. It helps to make sure that you or anyone in the future is not going to attempt to commit fraud with the card, trying to pass it off as a real thing. So I love the way it was made. But again, I do think that it's going to come down to what it sells for. If this card sells for like 500 grand, well, then it tells you one thing about restoration, and you know, reconstruction and like the art card movement. But if this thing sells for north of whatever, over $1 million, 1.5, over 2, which I think it might send a signal to the market that that card reconstruction, card art, restoration, and saving these pieces, actually giving them a second chance at life. It has to be transparent, though. It cannot be with fraudulent intents. And I don't think that this card has that. Josh, you want to say something? Go ahead and jump in, buddy.
I have to say, I think there's a distinction between restoring a Honus Wagner where there are only 50 of them ever, as opposed to, I don't think it's going to like open a door to now restoring 52 mantles, where there's like, go to any card show, you find 1,000 of them at at 707's booth. So I think it's different. I think like the Burkett, there's one of them ever. The Wagner, there's only 50, and they are in PSA holders saying restored. Like there already is precedent for that. So I think that Jeremy, I sent you a picture of one. But so I think it's not like this watershed moment of like now it's opening the floodgates. I think for very unique, historically important cards in our hobby, like Wagner and like, I don't know, I can't think of anything else, but like Wagner, that's important. Not a mass produced 52 tops high number card. Maybe a 48 leaf Kel, if someone
I hear, good point, Josh. I hear what you're saying. I think though that it's a case study, and it's a case study that will be referred to in other situations down the road that are going to use it as almost like evidence of acceptability. Well, the Wagner sold in 2026 for 2.5 million, whatever the number, or 1.5, whatever the number is going to be. Well, here's a 59 tops Bob Gibson that, now it's got a magenta background, and it's like, yeah, it's not the original. We're not trying to tell you it's the original. It's different. This is a hybrid, guys. It's a hybrid between a sports card, it's a hybrid between a restored sports card and an art piece. And like, I think that this piece is going to attract. I think this piece is going to attract bidders that may not be looking for a normal Wagner. I'm not saying they're going to bid, but it's going to bring attention to people like that. I think it is going to do that. And I think there are also going to be bidders who will bid on this card that wouldn't bid on a normal Wagner. I also think that I'm thinking that this is possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just thinking, I'm trying to think outside the box and think like, what could the impact be? So one of the other things I'm thinking is that there are probably people out there who wonder why those card nerds are so get off the lawn about not altering cards. Like, and like, there's probably people out there. I get messages about this all the time the last month and a half, because talking about it, people coming at me for saying, what do you mean we can't soak our cards and we can't do this or that? Like, I got people coming to me from that side of things. So the card restoration community is bigger than we want to admit, bigger than we want to think it is, but it is big, you guys. More people are doing it than you want to know about. That's a problem. Like Al said, we all have altered cards in our collections that have got by PSA and other grading companies. But there could be somebody out there in the card art world who says, I'm going to make a statement. I want to make a statement with this thing. And they might say like, we're gonna show those, those guys that have been in the hobby for 50 years that think they own the space and think that it's their way or the highway. We're gonna show them, and we're gonna blow the pants off this thing. I could see that happening. But you need more than one. So maybe you have a couple. If there's two of them and they go to battle, one guy says, "Guy's got 150 million bucks. What does he care?" He's like, "I'm gonna throw a $5 million bid at this thing." I'm not saying it's going to happen. It could. It's plausible. And then someone else says, "This is a nice card. I like it. Yeah, I want it for my collection." Hey, and if I had $250 million in the bank, maybe even 100 million, I'd throw a $3 million bid at this thing, because I love the story. I think it's cool. I like the looks of the card. I love that it's not trying to be an authentic Wagner. I love that. So point being, we'll see what happens here. I'm probably wrong, but you never know. If two people go at it and one guy comes in at 5 million, the other guy comes in at 3 million, it's going to sell for over $3 million. That's going to send a signal. And then it's going to be up to the hobby talking heads and other people in the know to try and figure out who bought this thing and what their purpose was. And there'll be all sorts of speculation about it. So I do think, and Josh, I appreciate what you said, and you're right. This is a special situation. Someone said in the chat, there's only a couple cards, and David and I have talked to this at length. Like, what other cards would you accept into your collection that were like this? There's only a handful, but that's me. There aren't, and I can afford more cards than other people can, and those people can afford more cards than other people can. There's people who can afford way more cards than I can, and so on and so forth. That we're all playing at different levels, and maybe for the 100 millionaire, there's only the Wagner, not even a Mantle. They'll just go buy a PSA 8 Wagner or something like that. But for other people, and comes back to your point, Josh, I think that this card could and will be used as a case study and an anchor almost for people looking at other cards down the road. So I don't know. I mean, like, okay, card, you see this, my card deal says pumping. That is all. That is what makes a card go up. Yeah, pumping. He's right. Attention on the card, even talking about it right now. We got 217 people watching right now, and they're all hearing us talk. They're hearing me talk about it. They're hearing you, Al. They're hearing Josh, and they're hearing the people in the chat make comments as well. David Chase. David, you're the most powerful man in hobby content. I don't need to say your name every time. But no, the card deal is right. That's what it is. Hey, why is the 52 Tops Mantle even iconic? Why? Because it was on auction catalogs, and it was Mickey Mantle and all these things. You put decades of impressions on an image. Guys, the whole world is about pumping. Everything, every brand that you're wearing, every brand in your refrigerator, every brand in your garage, it's all about marketing and pumping. Even this hobby that we love, it is. Players are on highlights. You want to buy them. Players have an interesting Wikipedia page. You want to buy them. Our buddy Tony, Southern Collector, does a video about Larry Doby. Guess what? More people are buying Larry Doby cards. It's innocent. It's like it's almost to the point now where you better not talk publicly about what you like. Otherwise, you're pumping.
My job as the owner of an auction house is to generate publicity for the cards that I'm selling. Right now, this Wagner, somebody said to me today at the Fanatic show, this is the most famous card in the hobby. Like, that happened. We announced this card a week ago. We're not talking about a card that people have known about for years and years and years. That's part of my job. And so I'm not going to make any kind of apologies for the fact that, I'm out there in the world trying to educate people about the existence of this card. And I'm not, you're going to have the opinion that you want to have about what the card is and how you would value it. But you talking about it is part of what I'm trying to do, So I can't say as an auction house there's anything wrong with that. That's what I would hope that anybody who's consigning cards to an auction house would hope. We've got two auction house owners right here in this show. That's what our job is to do. So.
Oh, absolutely. And how did Al even get here? Well, we were talking about his card last night, and he was watching as he watches and reached out, and we ended up on the phone for 2 hours the other night after a show talking about the card and the history behind it. And so, listen, I'm very interested in this card, Al, as an observer, as a hobbyist, as someone who loves cards. But I will come back to this, and this is so important. I just hope that people listening and watching can understand this, regardless of how you feel about any card that has been worked on. There's the biggest thing that I think that we need to consider is the transparency of the work. That's really what matters. But there's another level that this card achieves that many don't. There can be people altering cards and being transparent about it, but making the card look exactly like it was supposed to look like originally. When that happens, as soon as that story gets lost by that person dying or forgetting, that story can be lost as well. This Wagner, the story will never be lost. There's nobody who's going to buy this thinking it's the real thing ever. I can't think of a plausible way that could happen unless it was deconstructed and reconstructed with an original Wagner back, or at least, or made with materials that are made to look like that. But that's pretty far-fetched. I don't know maybe it'll happen, but if it does, you have images on your website, Al, that show almost like some fingerprint sort of details of the silhouetted piece. And to me, that's a great service, a great piece of documentation that you've added to the record of this card's history. Yeah. So this is my favorite card. This is my favorite card to watch at auction almost ever. And I mean, I make a living watching cards at auction, guys. That's what I do. So I can't wait. Sorry, Al, go ahead.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And I mean, obviously, I'm a basket case about it because, I want it to do well. And I think that it's got, I think that its sale and what it sells for, I agree with you. It's going to potentially set a precedent. And the precedent that I'm hoping that it sets is that if you're going to do something to a card, being open and honest about it and showing it is still going to yield a good sale. And you don't have to trim it and then hide that, try and sneak it by a grading company. You can actually have good professional work done. Now, I know you told me not to look at the comments, and I'm looking at the comments. And there is something that I want to address because I've seen it come up a couple of times. And guys, this is not somebody glued a silhouette of a Wagner onto another card. That's not what this is. This is a very sophisticated restoration, even by today's standards. I'm sure that today they could do a lot more than they did in the 90s. But this Wagner is not glued on top. The card was actually it's kind of sandwiched in between the front and the back, and then in-painted around. So it's stitched in there. It's part of the card. When you run your finger around the silhouette of the Wagner, you can feel what is the in-painting a tiny bit. It's smooth. And your finger can hear, because remember, I had this card when it was ungraded. So, you can kind of feel what is the in-painting that goes around the silhouette. This is not a card that was slapped onto another card. That's not what this is. That's all. I just wanted to address that.
Yeah, no, and I would have got that eventually, Al, because I love that as well. That's another detail that separates it from a fraudulent Wagner. Now, here's why I was doing this a little bit. Like I had this epiphany sort of thing when you were speaking, which was another part of this watershed moment thing. And this could be a really good thing, or maybe this is a good thing. I'm not sure. Got to think it through. If this card sells really well, could this incentivize the card doctors who are practicing in private scummy clinics? Could it incentivize them to come out of the closet, so to speak, and practice in public and actually be proud of their card doctoring and not try to commit what I call PSA fraud when you try to trick PSA with one of your alterations? Could they not try to commit PSA fraud, try not to trick PSA and actually tell PSA, hey, this is a restored card. I'm really proud of it. I did a great job with it. Can you please slab it as authentic restored or partial authentic restored or whatever, however you want to do it. Like, to me, and the reason why I think that could be a good thing is because now maybe people, I know it's so far-fetched, but maybe if anyone's incentivized, now we have fewer cards trying to slip through. If this card realizes good money, maybe, but then now we're entering into the world where restoration becomes commonplace in our hobby. But guys, news alert. It's already commonplace and accepted with like the other half of the hobby. The other half of the hobby is okay with it. I don't want them in my collection, but I'm making an exception for the Wagner because it's not trying to be that's why I like that it's yellow. I don't want a card that's trying to be something that it shouldn't be trying to be, like a fraudulent restored card. So who knows? Maybe it goes that way. You guys read the comments. I'm going to read a few out loud. You can listen in. By the way, hello to Ted Williams. Good to see you in the chat. LGJ questions my earlier comments as every card is altered. What I said, LGJ, is every vintage card is altered. And I said that because and it's not everyone. If the card went from wax pack to binder sheet, maybe not altered. But I mean, and I was being extra aggressive with that, but what I meant was any card that is imperfect or not how it came out of the pack has been altered from its out of the pack condition. That's just a fact. If you've ever dropped a card on the floor, that card has become altered. It is no longer in its original form. But that is honest alteration. All these cards, that's why vintage high-end is so valuable, because it's so rare, because they were all being altered when we were throwing them against the wall as kids. When we were putting elastics around them, we altered those cards on either end. It's honest alteration. It wasn't meant to deceive anybody. That's all I'm saying, is that's what I meant by that comment. And that was already, almost an hour ago. Mickey Minto says it's art. I agree. Vintage Football says it's an incredible art project. I think it's an art. Yeah, it was for the restorer. Brian says it is perhaps the most talked about Wagner aside from the Gretzky McNall. I think it is. Card Fuchsia says if you believe in something, you don't defend it. I just have to say to Card Fuchsia's here, this is a dialogue. It's a conversation. I haven't heard Al defend anything. All I've heard Al do is present the story. There's a big difference, Card Fuchsias, between presenting a story and defending something. I haven't heard Al defend it. Mookie says, who restored the... Okay, we've already gone through that, Mookie. Ron says, if the slab had both players' names on it, it would make more sense to me. I agree, Ron. I don't agree with the slab saying authentic altered. Or authentic restored. It's authentic restored, right, Al? Authentic and restored. I don't think that tells the whole story. I think there's more to it. Jim Sholey says, when a rare dinosaur skeleton is found, sometimes they have to man-make some of the skeleton for display to complete. It is still a piece of history in our story. It's a very simple analogy, but he's absolutely correct.
That just happened. There was a dinosaur skeleton that sold for like $100,000, and it was 62% dinosaur skeleton, and the rest was fabricated.
Yeah. So it's a great thing. It's a great comment, but there is still the apples to orange. Like even your Ferrari example, Al, cards are not, and I know cards are not Ferraris, cards are not dinosaurs, but half the hobby thinks they are. The other half, Bystander says, luckily the guy put a different background on it, or we may never know. But that, however, not the case, because it is raised above a little bit, as Al just described. So that may not be completely accurate. Bystander. Game Time says, is the Honeston? Yeah, it is raised higher. We covered that already. Steel City says, Al, I'm curious, as a Wagner collector who will never have a T206, is it obvious? It's all. Yeah.
It's obvious only in that the background is a lighter color. It's a gradient.
It has a gradient and it's a different color.
Right. Whereas the Wagner is a more of a flat color, and it's more on the orange side. So you can tell by that, but you cannot tell that it's been restored.
There's an image from last week, an authentic Wagner on the right and the one in question on the left. You can see it's got the gradient going from light yellow to darker yellow by the shoulders. And you can see the authentic one is clearly orange. So yeah, now, it's obvious.
Darren used a particularly orange example for his side-by-side comparison. There are other Wagners where it's not that egregious a difference. I mean, that was pretty egregious, but there are others that are far more lighter. Yeah. And
Map says, very interesting. This restoration was done a while ago. The pieces of the story culminating to make this make me appreciate it. Thinking it was done recently with the intent to sell made me dislike it. That's fair. And then Mookie says, Kurt's card care is very transparent with his restoration of vintage cards. Is he able to auction those with love of the game? Now, Al, before you answer, I just want to say to Mookie's question, I think Mookie's question is slightly, it's a little bit misleading, because Kurt is transparent, but him nor his clients, my understanding is, will ever show the serial number of a PSA slab. So while they might be transparent about what they do, they are committing PSA fraud regularly and trying to get one through. So to Mookie's point, now I'm going to I'm going to reframe Mookie's question. And Mookie, I think I'm not doing you dirty by reframing it this way, by saying to Al, would Love of the Game sell a Kurt's Card Care restored card that is not graded, and that you said very clearly on the auction description that this is a Kurt's Card Care restored card?
So Kurt's Card Care, who I guess his name is Kurt, has never tried to consign anything to me. So it's kind of a weird hypothetical. We can broaden this a little bit and ask, would I knowingly sell an altered card? And the answer is sure, if I was able to disclose the alteration that was done. You know, I'm sure that there are cards that have gone through my auction that had alterations done, and they're in grading company holders, and I didn't catch them. We blacklight, we inspect every valuable card that comes in the door so that we can describe them properly and honestly. There are trimmed cards that we sell all the time, and we identify them as trimmed. You know, a couple of auctions ago, I had, this is a shame, but I had a 51 Bowman Mantle that had a fake autograph on it. And nobody would hold her the card because of the fake autograph. So I sold it ungraded, and I said, this autograph is fake. It's not going to pass. It's, you know, and so sure, you know, if I had the ability to be forthcoming with what was done to the card, if it was the kind of card that was in my auction, you know, that's right for my auction, you know, I mean, that's another hypothetical. But, you know, again, where I would struggle, Jeremy, is I try and think about what happens to the card after it leaves my auction. Mm-hmm. Okay. So is the next guy going to do this? And I have an example of this where it makes a lot of sense, and I'll try and be brief about it, which is not always easy with when you're me. But I'll try. I had a, Josh, help me out here. Is it M101-2, the Sporting News, the bit large format?
Yeah, like the page. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a Wagner, and this goes back about I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 years now. I had a Wagner, a Lajoie, somebody else, and they were in a 1970s picture frame mat, and they were glued to the mat, and there was no way of getting them off. And so I sent them to a conservator and asked the conservator, could you get these off with using nothing but water? And this is a long story, but he used something beyond water, and I lost my mind on this guy. But what I did was, now I have this Wagner that I know has had some kind of chemical treatment, and I'm not comfortable selling it. But Beckett had that monster, you know, the monster slab, that huge, giant, impossible to open slab. So I sent it to Beckett, told them what was done to the card, asked them, you know, grade it, altered, and then I sold it that way because you can't break that holder. And I know it's still in that holder. And you know, the other three I didn't sell them. But the Wagner is like, that's a rookie era Wagner, and so that was a great card, and I happen to know it's still in that holder. So there's an example of one that I knew had been, you know, messed with, and I sold it with full disclosure in a way that I knew somebody's not going to break that out, or they're not likely to break that out and sell it as not altered. So it's something I consider.
David?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to kind of just, you know, from this whole conversation, just kind of give a little thing that's been going through my mind over and over again. You know, there's so many of us in this hobby that are just so strict with our opinions on other people's cards, ones that we're never going to buy, ones that other people have in their collection that we're never going to see. And that's why this card is cool, because this is anti-establishment. Okay, this is a card that is a little bit of a middle finger to the hobby, that feels that way and is so strict and still being disclosed, but it is kind of rock and roll to have this kind of a card that's out there that's saying, you know what, we're not that Wagner, we're a different kind of Wagner, and we're showing it. We're not deceiving anybody, but you know what, we're here, and take it or leave it. And you know what, don't bid on it if it's not yours, but we're putting it out anyway. I like that. I think that's very cool for this.
The punk rock Wagner, can we do that?
This is the punk rock Wagner in that way. Okay. Now there's one thing that I made.
This is the Franz Wagner.
Wagner. Get petty upset. Wagner. So the other thing though I wanted to kind of just think about a little bit as you were speaking about this, Jeremy, that kept going through my mind is when I've heard you say in our conversations a lot also that it's a one of one. And, you know, most Wagners or most of these cards, you know, they live their life and they're beaten up in different ways that are going to make it their own, right? Now, is there another thought on this, which might be negative, which would be that this doesn't have to be a one of one? Can't any Wagner be treated in a way to make it look like this? So it would be a similar kind of Wagner, right? Like, does it have to be a one-on-one? With today's technology, can't you pretty much repair any Wagner to have the same house as this one? Is that something that we should be thinking about, or is this different? What's your thought on that?
Well, my thought was that you're right, David. Yes, I guess you could take any messed up Wagner and, you know, cut around his silhouette, remove the orange back, the border, find your leech and marry them together. Yeah, I get that could be done. The reason why I've erroneously, I think I did make a mistake calling it well, I think right now it might be a one of one. And even one of one is probably not the right terminology. That's a term of convenience for me because it's a hobby term, but really it's probably the only one like it. Maybe that means one of one. I don't know. But yeah, you could take a dirty, messed up Wagner and do this again with the same Tommy Leach donor card. Sure, you could. So yeah, I can't say that this will. But the reason, and I think you and I have even talked about this, Dave, where I've said, yeah, it could be done. But is anyone going to do it again? Probably. No. There's only like 50, 60 of these things known anyway. You really think it's going to be done again? I doubt it, but I could be. So plausibly speaking, sure, it's plausible, but is it going to happen? I mean, I doubt it. But it could. So, but yeah, I do think though that, yeah, you're never going to, I still think we're never going to see another one. Exact. But you know what? I could easily be wrong, but there's, you know, the other comment sort of, or way to think about it, like with a mantle, you know, there's, I don't know, 3,000 known or slabbed 52 tops Mickey mantles. I bet a lot of those would be candidates for this. I'm sure there's a lot of, like, you know, driven from Chris Sewell's driven over by the truck division that would be good candidates to be completely reconstructed. Now, if you're going to put that on the same original colored background, I have a problem with that as a collector, as a hobbyist. But if you're going to put it on a different colored background and make it an art piece as well, like a restored art. Now, restored maybe doesn't even apply because you're not restoring it to what it looked like originally. You're restoring it to something new. So I don't like the term restored or authentic on this card. I think CGC got it wrong. I think they got it wrong. But we know what the card is. So maybe they'll want to correct it one day. Maybe they won't. The more important question is, how are they going to operate moving forward with similar, if they ever get something similar into the shop again, I suppose. Al, are you able to speak to CGC? And I know that a lot of people have asked, like, why didn't it go to PSA? But can you speak to that and what CGC, how do they back up these labels as authentic and restored?
Well, because it's authentic and it's been restored. And we can disagree about that, and that's fine. I get that. But you know, when I had the card, my feeling was that part of the objective here 30 years ago was to come to the hobby and show the hobby that restoration that could be done to a sports card. So I didn't want to have the card slabbed, authentic altered. I think you touched on this earlier, that the card was altered when it was cut. That's the alteration. Okay, the building it back is the restoration to that alteration, right? If that had never been done, if that die cut had never happened, it would be a full, complete, original Wagner that would not have been altered, right? So the alteration happened, and now we're trying to restore it. What? So in my mind, there were two grading companies for this. Now I should specify that I have had similar situations with Andy Broom, okay, where they're not even similar situations, but they're situations where research and provenance have been extraordinary, and I've gone to grading companies with an item and had been turned down for holdering things that Andy, when he was at Beckett, said is willing to look at the evidence and look at everything and say, yeah, this is cool. I'll authenticate this. An example of this that had been in one of my auctions is an old postcard that had an extraordinary bit of research that was done by the collector who bought this postcard. And what it was a 1914 real photo postcard of Fenway Park. You know that, Josh, I think I see you nodding your head.
Is this the Babe Ruth card?
This is the Babe Ruth card. This is an amazing piece of research.
Yeah.
It's a photo that was taken at Fenway Park from right field of the players on the field. So they're all about the size of your thumbnail, okay? But this collector was first able to identify that, but from the ballpark configuration and the ads and things like that, that it was 1914. And then he enlarged the scoreboard, and he was able to see the numbers of the players that were on the field. And then he obtained a 1914 scorecard and saw the corresponding numbers, because this is before players had numbers on their back. So the way you would know who's on the field is if you look in the scorecard, Tris Speaker is number 10, and it says in the scoreboard that the center fielder is number 10. So that's Tris Speaker out there. And so through that research, he was able to discern that Babe Ruth was on the mound, and that made that the earliest photo of Babe Ruth in a major league uniform from 1914. But he's this big. And so we took that information to both PSA and SGC, and they were like, yeah, no, I'm not comfortable with that. And we took it to Andy, and Andy's response was, wow, this is great research. Of course I'm going to slab this card. And yes, I'm also going to submit it to the magazine people so that they can write an article about it. And so it was, that kind of forward thinking, not everything fits the same, fits in the same bucket. That made me think that CGC was a dependable grading company that I could bring a card like this to and explain what I was looking for, which was to have it graded, authentic, restored. And I did the same thing with PSA. PSA, neither of them could guarantee me that on the phone and with the videos that I sent them that they were going to agree. They both said, yeah, I need to have the card in my hand to evaluate it. But PSA, when they said to me, we can't guarantee that we're going to grade it authentic, restored. And CGC said, if it's what you're telling us it is, we will grade it authentic, restored. And that's why the card is in a CGC holder. Because when you submit a card to a grading company, you pay for it, no matter how it comes back. So do I want to pay PSA to give me a card back in a holder? My opinion is the holder with a card like this, what holder it is, doesn't matter. And there's precedent for that with Wagner's, with the Nagy Wagner that was in a global holder way back when. The Wagner sells for what Wagner sells for. What we want to know is it authentic or not? And this is, Andy was willing to say, yeah, we can do that. We can put it in an authentic, restored holder, and that's what I wanted. I didn't want it to pay a grading fee and have it come back authentic, altered. That's the answer to the question.
No, thanks for answering that. I think people are really interested. So I'm glad that you're here to do that. I want to say hello to Jeremy Filippelli really quick. And now were those waves, David, or was that I want to talk, or was it a bit of both? Go ahead, David.
Did CGC mention at all? Like, was there a percentage of original Wagner that was needed to get that grade? Did they have that conversation with you?
No, I didn't ask. And I think, Josh touched on this on last week's show when you were talking about this. Grading companies do things like this all the time. They'll make an exception to their policy, for an extenuating circumstance. And I think that's what this is. I mean, tomorrow they're not going to get 15 more cards like this that they're going to have to make the same decision on. This is kind of a pretty unique situation. And so, what you have here is and I understand, Jeremy, that like cars and cards are different and all of these different collectible categories are different. But, again, if you take a piece of antique furniture and you have to give it new legs, it's still a piece of antique furniture and it's been restored. If you have to put new knobs on the drawers, it's still antique furniture. And so, and it goes like that in any collectible category where restoration is freely and openly discussed. The only category that I'm aware of where it's not accepted is in sports cards because it's not freely and openly discussed. So it's this huge taboo.
It's changing. They're starting to talk about it more open and freely now. You can even, I saw an advertisement for a card show a week or two ago, right on the card show advertisement. It said on-site restoration. Wow, that's bold. That is bold,
It is.
So it's like I said, there's the other half of the hobby guys. They're not coming on these shows because they're committing PSA fraud, but amongst themselves, they don't mind. They like to do it. And we hear about it. I hear from them all the time, especially these last 6 weeks where we've been talking a lot about this. And, I've taken the positions that I've taken. Those guys don't like me very much right now because I say that they're committing PSA fraud. They say, no, we're just doing our thing on our cards. Your point about the vintage couches or the antique couches, so Chesterfields, we may as well call them right now, where you're adding legs back to them. Like that is giving that piece of furniture a second life. I mean, these things were never alive in the first place. That might sound funny, but it's giving them, it's like it's reusing something. It's not just putting it into the dump, not just put into the garbage dump and all that.
Yeah,
I like when that happens. I and that's where I'm okay with this card personally. And listen, I really like the card. I don't know how, but I like it because it's been given a second chance.
Yeah.
Part of it has. The most important part of that original Wagner before it was cut generations ago, it's being given a second chance at life because I've seen a lot of people say that they would rather have the silhouetted piece. Yeah. I can't get behind that. I think it looks like it's a piece of it looks like a piece of garbage on its own. To me, it looks, I don't want to own things in my collection that I think look like garbage. And that's just me, but I'll find the image I should here. This is it before. To me, this is not a sports card. To me, this is not something that I would proudly own. Like I just wouldn't. I wouldn't kick it to the curb, guys. Don't get me wrong. The thing is still worth a lot of money, but I'll tell you what. I'm only owning it because it's worth money. I would not get really very little hobby joy from having this thing in my collection. This to me looks like scrap paper. So I would rather own it like it's still the same thing. It's now just been made to present cleaner. Just me. Josh will tell you he'd rather have the silhouette. That's fine. That doesn't impact what I would like. That's what Josh would like. And that's totally cool. I respect the heck out of it. But I would rather have some form and be surrounded by beauty, like, I don't know. We always talk whenever I have someone on the show, like, how's my background? I'm like, your background's good. It's good. Could it be better? Sure. but you don't need to worry about it. Like we all wear clothes to make ourselves, women wear makeup to make themselves look better. Again, apples to oranges. Some women, I guess, I don't know, but I'm just saying, basically this Wagner went from being what I look at as a piece of scrap paper. It's been given some lipstick, let's say. I think it looks really good the way it is now, to the point where I would love to own it in its current form. The old form, the silhouetted form, I would take that money and buy something different. Josh, what do you think?
I was gonna say, well, coin collectors in the coin hobby, they also don't accept, alterations or any sort of, tampering with the coin. So just to go play, right, like what Al says. So we don't either in our hobby. And for the longest time, right, we would always talk about guys that we knew would trim cards. We'd call them scissor hands, and didn't want to deal with them. And now you see ads for it. It blows my mind that they're like openly saying, "Oh, fix your cards for you." It's like astounding to me. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josh. I'm seeing some comments about a card exploding, because we have in the title of this episode was what makes a card explode. That topic is not being addressed by this panel tonight, unfortunately. Jeff Hart brought that topic, and it just didn't work to bring him on. So I'll change the title after we're done being live. But we're going to reschedule Jeff Hart, Patriot Sports Cards, in the chat here to come on at a later date, and we will approach that. We will discuss that topic at that time, just so the chat knows. I apologize that I didn't change the title early enough today. So just want to mention that. Okay, I don't really have much more to. Okay, go ahead, David Chase.
One more thing that I've just been kind of thinking about. It'll be very interesting after the buyer buys this card, because so many of these people that have a lot of money, they like to be in the shadows and not really like to raise their hand and say that they purchased cards like this. I have a feeling that we're going to know who the buyer is after this is done. I think that this person, because it is anti-establishment and kind of like out there, I just kind of have a feeling that this might not be the same buyer that has tried to bid on 3 other Wagners in the past. That could be somebody that's going for it for the first time because they think that this card is cool and different, never been in the market before. And I think that they're going to possibly say, look what I did, and probably have a lot of people that like are against them or whatever the feelings are, but also embrace the new world of what we have. I don't know. That's just a complete guess speculation for me. I just do not think that this is going to be purchased and we're not going to hear from the buyer again, which I think is rare.
Al, you're not going to disclose the buyer's name without their permission afterwards, obviously.
I will never disclose a buyer's name. The buyer may disclose their own name, but I'm the same way with consigners. That's completely confidential. In this case, the consigner was happy to lend his name to the card because of the history of the card, and it's an important part of the history of the card. But usually that's purely confidential. So no, I won't be disclosing anything.
Brad's
maybe
vintage.
Paul will wear it around his neck, though. Yeah, maybe.
Brad's vintage says, to me, the original silhouette is honest alteration. Would rather have that. Yeah, a lot of people feel though, and I agree. The original silhouette is honest alteration, and if that's what you'd rather, someone else made the comment that they'd be happy to own a headless Wagner. Here, Eric says, honestly, I would be happy to own a headless Wagner card. How many people can say they owned any piece of such an iconic card? Yeah. I mean, that fair. Like, I wouldn't want a headless anybody card. Like, I would just spend that money on something else with it has the head or or has the rest of the card on it, or at least most of it. But again, just my approach to collecting. The fact that I forget whose comment that was. Or sorry. The fact that Eric would own a headless, or the fact that Brad would rather have the silhouette, same as Josh, and most people who I've heard talking about it would rather have the silhouetted card, doesn't at all change what I would want. I would want the yellow back, what people are calling the FrankenWagner, what I've been calling it. I don't think that terminology hurts the card. I think it helps it. It helps tell the story of what it, and it identifies. It gives it a unique identifier that's just kind of obvious. So, I think it's I think it's cool. Card Fusion says anyone would be happy to own any Wagner.
I
I
agree.
mean, listen, if someone gifted it to me, or if I had this, I'd pay $1,000 for it, sure. But I'd probably flip it immediately. I would flip it immediately and spend that money and go get something else. So I would, Josh. I have no interest in owning the Silhouette Wagner. It doesn't fit my collection.
You're gonna put it in the vortex.
I would immediately put it into the. I would enter the vortex, which we're talking. When we say the vortex, we're talking about the Flippers vortex, which is when a card enters that Flippers world, and you see it over and over again every month. It pops up somewhere on Instagram or on another auction house. Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about the man's name. Let's go in that direction now. So, I've heard Al mention this. And I've heard others mention as well that the name is Hannes Wagner. Forget about the last name here. The name is Hannes because his name was Johannes. So henceforth, his name must have been Hannes. So here, okay. Here's how I feel about this. I think that, and I don't think we really know, although I do have some audio that I'm going to share. Al, thank you for, yeah, I have it ready. I have it teed up and ready to go, Al. I have it teed up and ready to go. Okay. Exactly. Bystander says, ask his mom. Exactly. Petty says it was, I don't know if Petty is saying Hans or Hans, but yes, we are live, OKC, but here's the thing. Here's sort of where I go on this card, guys. Okay. And I'm not arguing that his name is Honus. I'm not saying that it was Honus. I don't care what his name, but to me, all that matters was how he pronounced his name and how his mother pronounced his name. What I'm going to argue is that we shouldn't assume that it's produced a certain way simply because it originated from the German name Johannes. Those are two different claims. The origin of a name doesn't necessarily determine how it was pronounced decades later, especially after a family and his family immigrated to the United States. He was born in the United States in the Pittsburgh area, and he's become part of English-speaking culture. Al, hold on. It's going to get worse for you, buddy. History, guys, history is full of names that completely ignore the original pronunciation. I think of the name Catherine. You've got it's Catherine are called Kate Hudson, Kate Beckinsdale. That's not right. What's that?
Catherine?
Calf. It's Calf. It's not Kate. It's Calf.
I know.
Right, but they go by Kate. William becomes Bill. John is also known as Jack. None of these nicknames or what's a better word than nickname, like derivations, none of them are really sound like the original name, but they're completely accepted because language and usage evolves. If names can evolve that dramatically, it's not that much of a stretch to think that the pronunciation can evolve too. There's more example. Now, even more so, I think about names that are spelled the same but are pronounced differently. And for whatever reason, I think of female names mostly for this. Sarah and Sarah, Tara and Tara, Andrea and Andrea.
Laura and Laura.
Helena, Helena, and Helena. Alyssa, Alisa. I'm thinking of, I'm going through my relatives, thinking of names. Alicia and Alicia. Like there are, and this one, there's Anthony and Antony. I mean, there's just, which is maybe a bit of a stretch, but there are all sorts of names that are spelled the same, and you can say them. How often have you said to somebody, "Oh, hey, Sarah," and they say, "Sorry, it's Sarah," or the other way around, or Lara and Lara? I know Laras and Laras, Taras and Taras, Maras and Maras. I know all of these things, guys. My point is that just because his original name out of Germany was Johannes does not mean without a reasonable doubt that he pronounced it Hannes. Now, all that said, okay, Al, just what I've said, can you not say that do you agree? Never mind, Mr. Wagner. Do you agree with what I've said so far? I'm not setting you up. This is not a gotcha. I'm not trying to set you up for anything.
I agree with what you said, but it's none of those examples have anything to do with Hannes. It's. I mean, you can come up with all different kinds of examples. His name is Johannes. He
Yeah, but right.
He says his name is Hannes. There's
okay.
Audio of him saying, "My name is John." There's audio that I didn't send you where the interviewer says, "Where does Hannes come from?" And he says, "Hannes comes from John." And it's the German name for John. My name is John, and that's where Hannes comes from. Like the interviewer says, "Where does Hannes come from?" And he says, "Hannes comes from here." He calls himself Hannes. So
that's great evidence.
Yes.
And I am, like I said, Al, did you hear at the beginning? I said, I am not saying his name is Hannes. I said that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what his name is. I just like I just like the discussion. I like I'm really trying to just understand for myself that just because his name was Johannes doesn't mean that he called himself Hannes, but he might have. And that's so. With all that said, and it might be a little confusing, and I understand that, I've got a few pieces of audio to share. And we're going to start here with this one. This is Derek Jeter. Okay, hold on a second. I need to I just need to reset that up, make sure I have the audio set up so you guys can hear these things. I think this will be interesting. I hope it is for everybody watching and listening with us. So this is Derek Jeter. You should be able to hear this now. I'm going to hit play. Okay, so I'm sharing that simply because Derek Jeter, who's a Hall of Famer, who in this interview is talking about it's hard to believe passing, as he says, Honus Wagner as the shortstop with the most hits in history. That's what he says. So, and I'm okay that his name is is Hannes, Al. But I think it's interesting that somebody of Derek Jeter's caliber, Hall of Fame nature, doesn't know how to pronounce the man's name properly. That's what I'm saying there. So,
it's really hard to believe passing Honus Wagner because, they mentioned to me that now.
Okay. There's that. I found this piece of audio from a news station in Pittsburgh where Hannes, Al, for you, where Hannes lived. Okay, so here's this. I want to play this one for you. There's two clips in this. I'm gonna bring to your attention, and it's gonna come quick. So the first one is a male voice. The second one will be a female voice. But here's the man from Pittsburgh, WPXI-TV News. This, by the way, is 21,000 views 13 years ago. Okay, here, please listen.
By the Pirates legend Honus Wagner. Family says it baseball there, signed by the Pirates legend Honus Wagner.
It almost sounds like a mix of Hannes and Honus there. Okay, I'm going to go to the 40-something second mark right here.
She called me at work and told me, we found the ball. We found the ball.
That ball is an autographed Honus Wagner baseball. And today, Treasurer.
So the male-female reporters from Pittsburgh, the female definitely saying it wrong. Al saying Honus. The man, I can't really make out what he's saying. Is he saying, it's almost like Hannes, or how, it's like, it's a mix. I'll play it one more time. The male voice here.
Baseball there, signed by the Pirates legend Honus Wagner.
It's almost like Honus. Like they're saying both in a way, Al. And then the man himself. This doesn't really have audio, but it certainly has it only has audio. And you're going to hear from the man himself here. Here we go.
Very different game. I know because I'm Honus Wagner out here in Pittsburgh. So mighty different game. I know because I'm Honus Wagner out here in...
I know because I'm a HonusWagner. Like it sounds to me to be somewhere in the middle, closer to Honus, Al, but somewhere in the middle there. It's kind of weird. And yes, my young boy comes in here sometimes and watches Bluey. On my YouTube Premium. So anyway, like that's interesting stuff there, Al. And listen, I've listened to him say his name there 200 times in the last 24 hours. I've sat there, I've sped it up to 200%. I've sped it down to 50%, really trying to hear how he says it. And I'm not convinced that I can totally hear it that well. But from what I do register in my brain, I'm kind of hearing it as a closer to Honus than Honus, Al. I am. But
what did he say?
Pardon?
I'm asking David what he said.
See, this must be like the blue dress, like yellow dress thing when that used to come out.
And brainstorm. Yeah.
I totally hear Honus when he said that. Like, am I crazy that's what I heard? Am I off?
Josh, what did you hear?
I don't know what we're doing here. I don't Hannes. I don't know. I don't know. Wagner. I heard Wagner.
Because I'm HonusWagner.
I heard Honus. I mean, am I crazy? Chat,
Yeah.
like what? I must be hearing things incorrectly.
I found this other one while I was trying to amass proof on Friday night, and I'll email it to you when we're done. I gotta find it, so I'll email it to you in the morning. But it literally, the reporter says, "Tell us about the name Honus," and he says, "Hannes comes from John, which is my name, and it's just the German version of my name." And it's, I mean, he says those words, and so it's but you know, it's great. But anyway,
Al, what did you hear right there? Just on that sound clip, what did you hear?
I sent that to Jeremy as proof that his name is Hannes. Here he is saying, that's what I hear. Is
okay,
and so it's but
go ahead, Josh.
Yeah,
so can we do Napoleon Lajoie next?
He's got it right, Lajoie. Yeah.
Oh, see, I hear La Joy. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Al. I'm just kidding. Okay. Couple quick comments here. Carl from us says, "I'm with you, David. No, you're not crazy." Petty says, even when Hannes does say Hannes, it was the name given to him by Americanus, and his nickname was Hans. Preach, Josh. Petty says, "I don't care what Honus says. I'm going to call him Petty." Petty believes it's Honus. It's so funny because, like, at the end of the, like, guys, by the way, we are just having fun here. We are just talking about a topic that is fun to talk about because it's out there right now. I don't think I won't speak for you, Al, but I don't think, I won't even speak for you, Josh, but I've talked to David enough about, I don't think we care what it is. It's what I want to say it's the HonusWagner, but like now I feel, yeah, it's the HonusWagner. It's the HowieWagner.
We found it fun. I made a video that we put on our social media, and it was more of a tongue-in-cheek thing than anything else, where I was talking about, you know, all of the controversy, and you know, I'm here to address the controversy. It's Hannes, and you know, you know, just knowing, you know, that's not what the controversy here is, but you know, it's fun. It's a fun thing to talk about, and I mean, that's what this hobby is all about, right? I mean, do we want to talk about whether Jackie was safe or out next? I mean, that's what makes baseball so awesome.
The conversations, right? Without this, we would have been done half an hour ago. Absolutely. I saw a comment here about. Go ahead, Al. Finish that off.
Without me, you would have been done 2 hours ago.
I would have brought in the backups if I would have had to. Map 35 says, "How do you guys pronounce Mario?" I mean, I say Mario, but And this one, I often wonder, should I be saying, like, is it Mario Lemieux or Mario Lemieux when it comes to that particular Hall of Fame athlete? I say Mario, but I'm probably wrong. It's probably Mario, but I don't know for sure. Al, what do you know how to pronounce Lemieux's first name?
I think that's like one of those Lara and Lara examples where I used to work with a guy named Mario, and he called himself Mario. But I also know that there are people who call themselves Mario and Super Mario. And
it depends if you're Italian, French, or just plain old English.
Also, in Spanish class, my teacher calls me David, where my name's David, right?
Sure.
I'm not correcting her and say, excuse me, Senorita Perez, it's David, So who knows? It might just be the person's accent from when they end up saying the word.
Yeah.
I don't know the name.
I don't know either. Fun conversation.
Yes.
Glad we could have it. Glad we got to listen. We got to talk a lot about the Wagner card that you are selling on Love of the Game, Al. It's on display this weekend at the CGC booth at Fanatics Fest.
Right.
Where will it be on display? At the National, at the Love of the Game booth, or at the CGC booth?
It'll be at the CGC booth. We will be at the National set up, but it'll be at CGC's got this really cool display because they've also got this CGC 10, JSA 10, Gretzky rookie, and this beautiful 52 Mantle PSA or at CGC 8 that is actually one of the nicest 8s I've ever seen, and it's their whole display, and so I'm happy to let them display it. Plus, then I don't have to be terrified of having it stolen from my booth while we're at the show. We will have a Tip Top Bread Wagner, which has a natural yellow background on display in our booth, and so that will be a cool one that we'll have there, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Willie Mays jersey. Lots of great. One of the things that we haven't really announced yet that we've got is we have the only known Type 1 photo of Bobby Thompson's shot heard around the world. The photo that was taken by an amateur photographer from behind home plate up in the upper grandstand. It's the one that's all over the internet. It came from the family of the photographer, and so we'll have that. We've got a couple of other really cool Type 1 photos and a bunch of great cards, and I have no idea what our booth number is, and you would think I would have come prepared for that, but no.
People will find you, Al. People. Josh.
Yeah. Do you know where you are generally in the?
I'm right next to PSA.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
So if you come in the front entrance and you make a right and you go down that ramp, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yep.
We're right there in the first booth in that ramp, and so it's a pretty cool spot. Where are you? 503.
So it's like if you go straight down, so it's not bad. So 17 years pays off.
We're getting old.
Are you selling the Tip Top in the next auction?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, Tip Top will be in the next auction. We've got a T206 complete, or not complete, 518 set in the next auction. We've got a T207 set in the next auction. We've got. Is it okay if I plug this stuff? Is that?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Al. No, I was distracted by the comments, so I don't even know what you're talking about right now. Which my regular panelists are used to. So go ahead.
Okay. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I would love to meet folks who are here, who are in the comments, and then want to come by and chat. Feel free, please come by. I'll be there for the whole show, and I will talk your ear off.
Is Ryan setting up with you or no?
No, they started cracking down on that stuff.
Yep. Oh, I know big time. He's coming though. He'll be there Monday. I'm
sure. Who are you talking about, guys? We got a couple hundred people with it. Who are you talking about?
Nobody.
This is Ryan Christoph of Cuban Baseball Auctions.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Jeremy, this is what happens when you stop paying attention, Jeremy.
Yeah.
All right. They're just
take
going to go on and talk about people we don't know. I mean, come on, Jeremy. Get them in line.
Josh, your booth number again, please.
503.
Josh is at 503, everybody. Okay, guys, listen, this has been fun. I think we're going to wrap this one up for tonight, though. I cannot go for 4 hours tonight like we often have been doing recently here on Sports Cards Live on Saturday nights. We've been so deep into this discussion. I feel bad, haven't shouted out signatures for soldiers since the beginning of the show. But tonight's episode is part of the annual HobbyPalooza extravaganza, which is run by the For Collectors YouTube channel, and that is a group of collectors who I don't think they have their own channels anymore. Those guys, I'm actually not sure if they do. I know that I don't think John posts. Does John still post to his own channel though?
I think they all still have their own channels. Yeah, they do.
Okay, I just don't think John has posted to his in many months. The rest of the guys do. Sorry about that. And I think there's been some turnover over at For Collectors over the last little bit, but not very important. I don't think that's really important. But anyway, no. I just wanted to shout that group out, the For Collectors group. Great YouTube channel, all sorts of content over there, and if you would like to donate, there are some giveaways happening. I think I saw John say they're being given away on Wednesday, but if for every $10 you donate, you're going to get an entry into winning a prize. And I think if you delete $50, you're going to receive a t-shirt from Signatures for Soldiers. Guys, it's a great cause. HobbyPalooza has been supporting the Signatures for Soldiers cause, I think, since the beginning. This is the 7th year in a row of Signatures for Soldiers as part of HobbyPalooza. And look, there's Chris from Missouri, who is
chairman.
He is the ambassador this year. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate the comment. So please support a great cause. We are at the end of day 2 of a 3-day long HobbyPalooza live stream, back to back. I don't know how many they're all together, like well over 20 probably. And tomorrow it's going to start again, probably around 10 a.m. or something like that, and it'll end I don't know, around 8 or 9 o'clock tomorrow night. But if you go to the For Collectors YouTube channel, which right now we've got 21 people over there, 130 something over here on Sports Cards Live, and a whole bunch over on Twitter too. Hello to the Twitter crew or the X crew. But if you go to the For Collectors YouTube channel, you can see all the content coming tomorrow, and you can go back and watch the rest of the HobbyPalooza live streams that have been going on all day, Friday and today. So just want to shout that out, guys. Please do check that out. Yankees fan says working part-time tonight. I know you're kidding. I appreciate it, Yankees fan. I'm glad you are here. OKC says I need no one to tell me a card looks good. Yep, that's a common response to the sticker world. Go ahead, Mr. Chase.
And I was just going to say, I'm filling in tomorrow night, 5 p.m. to be on the Midlife Live with the crew, the Heartbreakers, with Petty, with Darren, with Greg. Tony's going to be out, so I'm going to try to fill in a little bit with him. So continue on for us tomorrow too.
Great shout out there. Appreciate that, David Chase. Couple last minute. Okay, the sports car professor said this earlier. I had it marked. I want to say, he says perhaps the hobby should introduce the medical term transplant, since we called the leech card a donor card. I don't mind that. I don't mind using the word transplant in some of these cards being sort of reconstructed or remade. Mookie says, Al is very wise to come on and take these questions. His transparency is quite commendable. Thank you for that, Mookie. Jim says, please stop short of oranges and roofs. See, I call it a roof and an orange. I don't know if that's right or wrong to the Americans. Brad says, thanks for spending time with us tonight as always. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it. And Mike Petty says, Al, don't forget what I told you, what I taught you about Honus. Good one, Mr. Mike Petty. Thank you, Carl from Oz. And all right, guys. Al, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. We'll see you.
So much fun tonight. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. You bet. I look forward to seeing you and chatting in person at the National.
Yeah.
Al, you're gonna wrap. You're gonna be the last one to, second last person to speak. Follow along, Al, and if you've watched this to the end before, but everybody, here on July the 18th, 2026, on behalf of myself, the whole Sports Cards Live team, and for collectors and HobbyPalooza, this episode of Sports Cards Live is now. We'll start with you, Josh. Is now
over.
And with that, Al, don't go anywhere. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in and being a part of the Sports Cards Live community. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and most of all, keep collecting. More great content to come. Sports Cards is a lifestyle.